Alrighty, we are live.
Okay, let me get that open so I can look at chat.
Media post is up. Looks like we might not get last minute Ricky.
We might not.
You know what?
I cannot build. I have
Yeah,
no idea what an eternal consonants deck would look like. That's definitely
I
not something I can do on
I'll level with you.
10
I
minutes.
don't think the answer is good.
No,
Um,
I think the real answer is if you could cast consonants, you can go. You could for the same amount you could cast destructive force.
yes,
Um,
I think there are very few things you want to be spending at least 7 mana on in Eternal. I think realistically, the answer is, oh god, I'm like racking my brain here. Terminal Impact, and that's it.
Eternal Impact pretty good. I think destructive force. I'm willing to spend 7 mana if my opponent gets to have 0 lands in play and no creatures.
Sure. I think in the case where you're spending 7 mana to cast Destructive Force, I think you need to be at like turn 4 to be really happy with Destructive Force. Um,
That's about right. Yeah.
but yeah. Otherwise, Terminal Impact is like the thing that I want to spend at least 7 mana on because that's the oh surprise I just kill you over the top for a bunch of damage. Good luck finding
Mhm.
counter spells.
Yes. And as Silver discovered in League, the BLR red white card that chooses new targets for a spell does not prevent you from picking the AOE mode on Terminal Impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lichbane Arson not Lichbane Arsonist. Lichbane Ward Wielder.
Yes.
Pretty good, but not impossible to beat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I knew it was nearly one of my promos until I realized I could just do Fabricated Anomaly. It technically met my criteria.
Yeah. Here, we already got a couple people in here. One thing we should have talked about before we went live is how we're doing decks back and forth. Are we doing each of us does two, each of us does one? Because currently I believe we're at 17 players, 18 now. Oh, Ricky
Probably
did get
each of us
in.
does. Probably each of us won with the caveat that I might take deck lists if they look like the ones that I built for my video, like because I imagine there's going to be quite a few of those.
All right. There's just one that I'm gonna take, and if
Is
we
it
end up
yours?
perfectly, yes, and if we end up perfectly alternating 1-on-1, I would probably be the person that would need to start because I believe I'm the 15th player to register. So
That
odds
looks right to
evens.
me. There are 18 players. Oh, Ricky is in.
Yeah, we got Ricky in last minute in classic
Oh,
Ricky
and there's some
fashion.
notable.
10
We have some
minutes is
notable
plenty of
players
time.
who are missing too.
Yeah, there are some serious absentees here. I imagine most curators probably sitting this one out because set review.
I mean, I see at least three of them,
Yeah,
four of them.
I see a few for sure. I definitely see the two that have publicly confirmed they're done with their set reviews.
Yep.
But yeah, I do see four curators. I'm not stunned to see Lee absent here because I believe this is Lee's first. Is this their first like set review window? Because
No, it's their
they,
second.
I'm trying to remember.
It was
Were they
during
curated
Error's
in
Kitsuo
July?
season.
I'm gonna double check news.
No, I remember because you beat them in the first month of Error Kitsuo at the time, and the joke was you got a renegade, but they got to become a curator
Right, yeah,
after
no,
that
it is
tournament.
literally the month after I won.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
I was so ready to make the joke. I remember because I was so ready. I had all the jokes prepared of like, if they won, I was like, as a special reward for winning this tournament, a secret prize.
Then I would have been more upset that I lost. Nah, Lee has definitely earned it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Lee, very insightful and helpful in the secret chats.
I believe it. And I mean, as evidenced by last month, I think the formats, the health of the formats combos has definitely been headed in the right direction.
Hmm.
And definitely the ways that the curators responds to combos. Um, it feels like there is like a visible influence there from Lee, which is good.
Yeah, I think like there's more of an influence on combos continuing to exist, but making sure they are interactable and hateable.
Yeah. I will weep for serve again. Um,
Yeah,
I I am sad about that nerf. Um,
me too. Although to be honest, I think it's fair. The
yeah,
ability to serve again the same creature multiple times was mostly going to be used for evil.
absolutely. But I think the number of creatures that you can repeatedly serve again with are pretty few and far between, and they often require external components. A Methrin Hoarder is really the exception. I was really expecting a like sorcery speed
Well,
rider on a Methrin Hoarder as like one of the key changes. So Hoarder getting going pretty much unscathed was surprising to me.
there's a story behind that I don't know if I can tell.
All right then. That being said, I will acknowledge that like it's very easy to punish a hoarder activation if you make the opponent pull the trigger first, because you activate hoarder, try and pull it out of the graveyard, and the opponent can just hate it in response. And if the thing you care about is just sacrificing your permanents, your opponent's screwed anyways. But if like you need a hoarder to come into play, you need to make sure you have enough multiples of 3 permanents to sacrifice that you can still do the thing you need to do with hoarder without hoarder getting shut off by instant speed graveyard hate. If there's like
Yeah.
especially something like
Soul Guide? I think it's only
well
Soul Guide that really matters for though. Mystery, I
no
guess. Mystery Stones
uh
also.
no Vaudlin's Fleshright, I think.
Oh right, all the scavenging
Yeah, the scavenging
oozes.
gooses.
I forgot about
Specifically
those. Yeah, those.
specifically the green one, and then oh god damn it, I played it this year. I played it in July. The black colorless one that integrates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That guy, the
that
guy that
guy.
got Data Weaver nerf.
The 3/2.
Yeah, I know the guy. They're around. I'm gonna be honest. All of my sideboards just have Crucible instead.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. My graveyard hate this time around is Absentia. If I
yeah,
need to get
that's
rid
more
of your
easily.
entire graveyard, I something worse is happening.
I mean, because there's this really flexible spell that exiles your opponent's graveyard. It costs 2 black.
Mm. All right, folks, this stream is going to be a solo stream from now.
I don't think that card is good in Eternal.
Oh, not at all. Listen, the thing that has tilted me out the most about Chronicle of Extinction is getting stomped by it, expressing my frustration about getting stomped by it, and then having people go, doesn't even seem that playable right now. And it's just like, it single-handedly slaughtered me.
Oh, it sure did.
Like that is so often the story with specifically Chronicle of Extinction as well, is that I will get killed by that card by itself in multiples and then be told that it's not playable. uh like it is one thing to be told that a card you're playing is not playable. It's another thing to lose to a card people are saying isn't playable. And that has just been a repeating pattern with Chronicle of Extinction. I'm so ready for that card to go. I think I'm not sure I hate it as much as I hate In Search of Peace, but it's close.
Oh yeah, this is my first time playing in Search of Peace. I didn't get to do it last Eternal.
Yeah.
Well, this card's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's a really fun card when you're not stealing your opponent's things temporarily, and by
Well, that's also
temporarily I mean permanently.
I permanently stole a bell tower with it. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, that's just hubris. Yeah.
I paid 1 mana to permanently take your bell tower.
Yeah. Yeah, no time to waste does still have some uses for sure. I just the experience of Bell Tower for me, because this was also like In Search of Peace with OG No Time to Waste, where it was just I believe it was just like 1 mana no matter what.
Yeah, one random what
Oh,
you
it
pay
was
to an end step to not to keep it. Yeah,
no, sorry. I think actually I can just double check version history
yeah,
here
Luckybot
in
will say.
Lackybot.
Which, by the way, Luckybot has updated. It now you can now get the new promos on Cockatrice.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so it was just right. No, it was I could have sworn there was another change. I think maybe it was a like pre-rotation change where it was like before the set came into the format. Because I could have sworn it used to be 2 and a blue, and it cost 2 less to cast if it targeted a non-creature permanent specifically.
Ooh, that could have been a pre-release change. Yeah,
Yeah.
before my time.
But yeah, no time to waste. Also, I'm just looking over at the stream on my phone and realizing that it's kind of cut off here because of how I have to format it uh, for the deck list view for
LBS
GPs.
has some things.
Yeah, no time to waste. The original version where it was just almost always 1 mana, and then you get that with In Search of Peace. No, thank you. I was really excited for month 1 Cyberos, and then I had Split Moon pull that shit out on me, and I did not play month 1 Cyberos GP. I don't think I played a GP
Wow.
during Cyberos. I was just like, nope, I'm out. See ya in 4 months. And then 4 months later, I did my first video.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because despite Split Moon very quickly teaching me how I would feel about early Cyberos, then Cliques of Nyland was getting in, and that was the set that I had a lot of familiarity with going in. So I started looking over the set, got very excited for the set joining the format, and then said, you know what? If I'm gonna go through every single card individually and rate how I feel about it, I might as well make a video out of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided that rather than trying to make an editing program work, I was going to do it all in one take. And here I am a year and change later, still doing it all in one take for some unearthly reason.
It's great the all-in-one take. I just can't be. Recording is fun. Editing is not fun. Therefore, I'm just not going to edit.
Mm-hmm. If I had a editing program that didn't make my computer want to rise up against me, I would at least put in some time with editing.
Hmm.
Because like I've been in the editing bay before doing custom Magic videos. Like I've certainly not my first foray on YouTube, but definitely the foray on YouTube where I've had the most pride in it. I had my Minecraft Let's Player phase.
Ooh.
Yeah, also known as high school. Those videos are long gone, by the way. Don't waste your time trying to find them.
Oh, okay,
You
let me
wouldn't
close
know
up
the
the
username
YouTube
anyways.
window.
You wouldn't know the username anyways. It's not Coveted Peacock, I'll tell you that much. Alrighty. I'm very excited to see what people are bringing. I'm bringing something that should not even slightly be a shocker.
That's right. It's mono white Yeji.
Close.
Yeji on the list? You know, we already have a Yeji promo. Can't be on the list. No.
Yeah. I mean, we have stuff that's eligible for promos that already has like promos, not necessarily excursions that are eligible, like things that already have excursions, but like there are absolutely cards on the excursion list that I was seeing that have have like other non-excursion promos.
Yes, it's true.
Oh, Scribble says it's locked.
Okay, refreshing.
And it looks like we're at 19 now. Styles. Oh, no, we're at more than 19. We're at 21. Lee, Caillou, and Styles got in. I was mistaken. Lee is absolutely
no! Lee is in! You must stop Lee!
competing. Trying to overcome your overall qualifications for Worlds. Well, at this point, I've accepted I am not getting first seed in Worlds.
I believe it's mathematically impossible for it to be anyone other than me or Lee. Yes.
Yes. I think if I win this GP, then I will also win January, February, March, maybe? Because that put me to 5 wins.
Yeah, we'll get you to 5. Yeah, we'll get you to 5.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. It's easy. I just can't drop a single match from here until infinity.
You can drop matches in the Swiss. I do it all the time.
Yeah, but if I drop a match in the Swiss, that gives me worse.
Okay, now we're
oh,
locked.
we're live. We're live.
We're live and we're locked.
I'm up against Silver. I almost thought I was up against Itai and Bai. I almost clicked stop streaming on OBS.
Okay. Nope. Focus.
Drum roll, please. Wow.
Okay. We're not waiting on decks.
Oh.
Turn off the waiting on decks.
I did. That was why I had OBS open. Crush already has a win because Ricky dropped. Ricky's deck it looks like just a consonants list from before a bunch of the consonants stuff rotated.
Okay.
All right, 07. I am
Crush
curious.
With a win under their belt, and it looks like some people have some janky lists, so we might be seeing the top Crush in top cut for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping
copies
for
of Krenko's command. I can't wait to see this deck. I will say, I am curious to know if Scribble will refire the round just because we had 21 and then 1 insta-drop.
Possibly. I will leave that up to Scribble.
Yeah, obviously it's Scribble's call. I'm sure Itai and Crush won't mind the round 1 auto win, but we'll see.
What is going on here?
So I guess I'll take the lead here. Was Ricky?
Yeah,
Ricky was in after me, so yeah, I'll take the lead. We've got Nyx on 17.6 karat gold, Promontory Summit, Utah. This is what the hell?
This is in search of peace.
This is. I'm trying to figure out what the combo is here, because there's a combo here. There's a Laboratory Maniac. There's something happening here.
There is not a combo.
There is not a combo? Oh, no, there is
absolutely
absolutely a combo. There is absolutely a combo. It is... I don't know if it's sustainable, but it is Marked Passage, Pact Beyond Death, with no creatures to pressure Pact Beyond Death, no damage to really pressure Pact Beyond Death. Your plan is no time to waste, in search of peace, the creature that you steal, Pact Beyond Death, like hit Pact Beyond Death to make it so whenever you draw a card you gain 2 life, and then you Marked Passage to try to draw your deck.
It doesn't even work. Marked Passage loses life during the resolution of Marked Passage.
Correct.
Which happens all before the
Correct. Deck. I'm aware. This is interesting. This is an Esper control-ish deck. So Laboratory Maniac is the win condition. Playsets of Event Horizon, Redeploy, Marked Passage, Omen of Deception, and In Search of Peace. So definitely doing some flickery things between Redeploy and Uncertainty of Fate. Oh, Uncertainty is actually really clever here, just because now that it's 2 mana, gets back something 3 or less, you can get back the Lap Man at instant speed. So pretty safe to discard a hand size, but no real way to reliably discard it.
Borrow,
yeah, that's actually a good point. You can mill it with Pact Beyond Death, I guess. So 3 of Borrow. Actually, there's a way you can attack Pact Beyond Death. Borrow tokens. And then
it does actually work.
If you're really creature light, then the sacrifice clause on Borrow isn't going to be as painful, I guess. Although, at the same time, if you're really creature light, you want to keep those jellyfish if you can help it. 2 copies of Finax's Touch, 3 No Time to Waste, primarily, I'm assuming, for In Search of Peace. I will note that, like, In Search of Peace flickering Borrow is solid. In Search of Peace flickering Finax's Touch is solid. Um, flickering Pact Beyond Death is pretty okay. Really good way of, just thinning your deck over time. So it's not like I think this deck is gonna be capable of doing some cool things. I'm not quite sure I see where Nyx was going with the sentiment that like this deck is absolutely insane. But I haven't seen it in action, so I'm ready to be startled.
This looks like a pretty good In Search of Peace deck that you have put Marked Passage and Laboratory Maniac in for some reason.
Kinda, yeah. But like, I can see what Redeploy and Uncertainty of Fate are trying to do here. Um, Uncertainty of Fate does the In Search of Peace thing because it's a flicker from BLR, and Pipsqueak is determined to give me an aneurysm. so,
Yep.
so you don't need In Search of Peace. You can just Uncertainty of Fate flicker that way. 22 lands, playset of New Divides, 2 Primal Fissures. I'm going to be real here. I think you should probably be... Actually, no, I think this is a deck that's fine, playing a slower game on the early turn, so this is fine. I think a lot of decks are going to want more Primal Fissures than New Divides. I
Yeah,
want an
the
even
cards
split
that
as just an early spoiler, but yeah,
the cards that 7x has cut are all the 1-drop. 7x is cut down to 2 Phoenix's Touch and 0 Kaleidoscape.
I
Um,
see.
so it's much more able to play tap lands.
Yeah, able to get away with that a little bit more. New Divides getting 3 of Swamp, 3 Island, 2 Plains, so 6 basic fetches, 8 basics, 1 of each of the one of each of the white creature lands between Hundred Handed Pillars and Gates to the Underworld, with not a lot that gives you devotion to white. So Hundred
Yeah,
Handed Pillars is really hard to animate.
yeah. I think this deck probably wanted the blue-black one. All the Esper ones are good, but the blue-black one's also, I think,
Yeah.
best here.
1 Flooded Morris, which I think makes sense on 8 basics. 2 Enigmatic Fens, 2 Stark Expanse, 1 Lucent Basin. So mostly shocks and basic fetches, 1 Flooded Morris, and then 2 creature lands. Sideboard is 2 Hoarding Calibre, which is some 2023 tech for sure. I mean, I'm always a fan of this card. I
Yeah,
seldom
I
see
get
it do a ton, but hell yeah.
I get the joke. I understand why it's here. Um,
Yeah,
it's okay into control matchups, although I think there are better options.
yeah. 3 copies of Veto, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah,
Um,
right here.
4 Duress, 2 Dreamfall, 2 Omen of Slaughter, and 2 Crucible of the Burning Sun. I'm just going to keep a mental track of all of the Crucibles we see, because I feel like there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like if your deck doesn't care about the graveyard, and this deck cares about its graveyard exactly 0, except it stops. I believe it stops Pact Beyond Death. Uh, then Crucible, I think, is the no-brainer graveyard hate choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how this deck's going to fare. In part because I feel like there's a lot of awkward pieces that don't fully slot well together, but like In Search of Peace is going to make people mad, and by people I mean me. So
I mean, if you get In Search of Peace and Borrow in play at all, it really does not matter what spells you are casting as long as you are casting spells.
yeah, for sure.
Every spell gets you draw 2, discard 1, make a 1/1, and fly or gain 1 life, and that's you know what, that's enough.
Yeah. Uh, your first spell every turn specifically because it is like flicker
Well,
out for the
well,
turn.
once you're drawing that many cards, let me tell you, you find the second Borrow pretty fast.
That's true. Fair enough.
Also, you get 1 on your turn, 1 on their turn. That's usually enough.
Yes.
Usually, you don't need to draw more cards than that.
Yes. Alrighty. Up next is Scribble. Take it away.
Yes, this is a deck that Scribble and I and a bunch of people were talking about a lot in chat. This is Bell Hacker. So this is a white-black control deck with a potential combo finish. So the combo is Life Hacker and Keening Bell Tower. You have a life hacker leveled up at least once and a keening bell tower, and you either draw a card or gain a life. They will trigger each other back and forth, and as long as your life total, sorry, as long as your cards in library is larger than your opponent's life total, they'll die before you deck out.
Yeah.
Um, this is He's a little slower than the other combo decks in the field, but it gets the benefit of both of these are quite good cards on their own in a control deck, and you can get both of them with Contest Coordinator. Uh, this is also a Indulgence deck. It has 2 Glaunas and 2 Feast of Whispered Knives. Obviously, Keening Bell Tower, great way to trigger those, as is Life Hacker. So it all kind of ties together nicely. Um, and then kind of rounding out the control suite. Uh, Srizak the Heinous is just solid card. And with your life gain off of Life Hacker and Bell Tower, you can often afford some modes. Field Test, just a good general control card, can also cause you to indulge if you need that. Shatter Identity Reform Purpose is the hand attack of choice. This is a non-blue control deck, so you really do want some hand attack to avoid dying to combo. Bring the House Down is a sweeper that can be gotten off of Contest Coordinator. Dark Covenant can also be gotten off of Contest Coordinator, and it gives you 2 Indulge triggers. Um, Sanctum of Repression over Event Horizon in this deck can pick up Contest Coordinator, but that's kind of the main thing you want to pick up. Um, this deck is almost entirely sorcery speed. Actually, it's literally all sorcery speed. So the instant speed on Event Horizon is not getting you much, and this deck doesn't put a ton of permanents in play, so it could theoretically miss something once. And also 4 Chromatic Shard, which, works with Contest Coordinator, ramps you into your important control 4 drops of Bell Tower, Life Hacker, and Srizak, fixes for Srizak, and indulges for Glauna and Feast. So it all kind of ties together nicely.
Yeah.
Mono Base has the Gloomcover Steppy because we have Contest Coordinator, so we want the planes. And also Angara, the Brilliant City, which is also a planes. Uh, it is slightly awkward to be both a Contest Coordinator deck and a Srizak deck, because Contest Coordinator wants planes and Srizak wants Swamp.
Yeah. Gloom cover
Uh,
definitely helps there.
Gloomcover definitely does help, along with the high basic counts. Sideboard's got Let Them Eat Cake for aggro, Duress for people without a lot of creatures, Bring the House Down for mid-range decks, Sanctum Impression for various permanents, 2 Banish to the Isle. Oh, love Banish to the Isle. Another way to indulge and deal with random permanents. Faces of the Faceless as a graveyard hate of choice because you can get it with Contest Coordinator, as with Crown Guard Ban, which you can also get with Contest Coordinator.
Yeah.
This deck, I've not played against this particular build myself, although it all seems to make a lot of sense. And I love having a powerful control deck in the Eternal field.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that folks had their eyes on Bell Hacker, because I think Life Hacker, there was a lot of murmurs at ERR joining the format of, Life Hacker doing powerful combo stuff. And obviously, one of the key combos that the deck was capable of got hit in its infancy. But Life Hacker really has seen minimal play so far in its tenure. So nice to see it getting some representation here in Eternal.
There's been a ton of life hackers, if I recall.
There have been a ton, you said?
Yeah, I think it was it's like one of Klumrak's 4 drops of choice.
Oh, right. Yeah, in Black Green Midrange. Sorry, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, Kumrak has already put it through the ringer on
Yeah.
the midrange side of things. But now we're going to get to see it in the sort of control-y combo side of things. So the combo aspect still largely unexplored at this tournament capacity. We're going to get to see it shine here now.
Yeah. Although I imagine, like, I haven't run this deck, but I imagine your plan A against most decks is just be a normal control deck, and just a life hacker or a bell tower on their own is usually enough.
Yeah.
The combo is usually like decks too dangerous to keep alive that you need to shut the door on quickly.
Absolutely.
Aggro decks and combo decks.
It's the kind of A plus B where, because it is a 4-drop plus a 5-drop, you're never sitting here thinking, oh, I really got to jam 9 mana to get both of these online, or like get to do these turn after turn. It's, oh, these are both really reasonable cards in my tap out control deck. and then when I get both of them in play, the opponent explodes.
Yeah, and opponent exploding when you have two 4-drops in play is important if they're on like a destructive force or some other kind of deck where if you let them terminal impact deck, where if you let them, they could top deck a win that you can't stop in your white black no counter spell control deck.
Yeah. Also, I've been peeking over at the GP chat as we've been looking over Scribble's deck and can confirm Ricky has been undropped. Ricky is back in the field. I don't know if it's going to be the same deck or it's a slightly different one. I'm going to refresh the page just to see. It does not look like a different deck, so it might just be the same old for Ricky, but we'll see how that might change. I'll keep checking as we get closer to Ricky's deck. Good to move on?
Yep. Oh, and by the
Alright.
way, Scribble, I'm going to be dinging you for not putting in 2 Temple of Origins. That card is promo eligible, and you're a 2-color deck.
Well, I mean, Chromatic Shark makes off-color mana. Maybe you want to make blue or red or green.
True.
I
Or if you
can't
want to make
see a
colorless.
reason, but I mean, what if, right?
Yeah,
What if you manifest a way to spend red, green, or blue mana through sheer willpower? Anyways, Crush is playing 20 copies of Krenko's Command.
That's, that sound. I'm looking at this deck, and that is, if anything, an underestimate.
I mean, I'm seeing 20 copies. I'm just seeing other token making spells as well.
That's fair.
So 20 copies of 2 mana make 2 1/1 tokens, and then there's also 3 other token making spells. So this is mostly mono red tokens, with every spell barring 2 capable of making at least a couple tokens. So for our
None of them can make. All of them can make at least 2.
all of them can make at least 2. One of them does not guarantee it gets to make 2, but all of them can at least make 2. So, for our 2 mana make 2 1/1 spells, there's a playset. All of these are playsets. It's going to be really simple. There is Doctrine of Cleansing Flames to make a pair of Berserkers or Exile an Artifact. So, Artifact hate in the main. 4 copies. I already started screwing it up. Of Ragtag Squad. To make a 1/1 with haste and a 1/1 with trample, each of the creature type of your choice. Flags on High, an enchantment that makes 2 1/1 colorless soldiers when it enters, and you can sacrifice for 2 mana to give a creature +1/+0 in haste at sorcery speed. 4 copies of Raislet Meditation, which makes 2 red soldiers and can sacrifice for 2 mana to deal 3 to target player or planeswalker. 4 copies of Spirited Protest to make 2 1/1 white warrior tokens, and you can pay 1 in sacrifice to give a creature just haste at instant speed, which the instant doesn't matter so much here. And then our non-Krenko's Command token spells are Sparks of Revolution. Makes a 1/1 soldier, colorless soldier when it enters, and it gains haste until end of turn, so it can attack immediately. And then as long as you have 3 or more sources you control deal damage in a turn, and have a source you control deal 3 or more damage in a separate turn, you can flip it over into Freedom to make a 1/1 soldier tapped and attacking every time you attack. And that is actually pretty reliable here because obviously this deck is going to put a lot of sources of damage into play. The damage, 3 or more damage from a specific source is going to be a little trickier, but Raislet Meditation does do that on its sacrifice clause, which is pretty nice because then you can guarantee that on your first main phase. And then there is, of course, another way to do it in the enchantment slot. But before we get there, there are 2 other token spells. Rites of Ignia sacrifices an artifact or creature to make 3 red elemental tokens for 2 mana, and Online Presence makes 3 red and green elemental tokens for 3 mana. Finally, there's Keranos Fickle Fortunes to make your non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast and deal 1 damage to each opponent whenever you cast a non-creature spell. So not only is this going to chip away as Crush keeps slinging those token-making spells, but this is also going to cost reduce those token makers to make a lot of them cost 1 mana. And the big bomb, the reason to go this wide, Sunny Day. 2 in a red weather enchantment that sacrifices when a player plays a weather that doesn't share color with it, but also makes non-red weathers get sacrificed when it enters. And whenever you attack, it deals X damage to target player or planeswalker, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So, of course, If you go wide enough, this can just nuke your opponent before you even pass to blockers.
And it can do 3 or more damage for Sparks of a Revolution.
Pretty easily, I might add. So yeah, pretty aggressive mono red deck. Mono red with the caveat that half of these 20 lands also make blue mana, specifically because Keranos is not a mono red spell, but there's reasons beyond just Keranos to be in a blue splash. If we look at the sideboard, that other reason is Light Vein Arrow as a playset. Some solid burn up to the dome and removal for smaller creatures. 2 mana, deal 3 to any target, scry 1. Little better than your average Lightning Strike, and our best 1 mana burn spells require things that this deck can't really satisfy. Specifically, Ferocious Flame can't really be met unless you animate Keranos, and that requires 5 of your enchantments to be in play besides Keranos. So pretty safe to say you're just kind of better off with Light Vein Arrow, and I think that's a correct call. Otherwise, 4 copies of Punishment from Nyx to shut down damage prevention and just a solid shock when you need it. 3 copies of High Voltage, which there's plenty of sorceries to help discount this, and it's a reasonable bolt when it is discounted. And then 3 copies of Terminal Impact, punch through counter spells, and if you just start building up enough mana, it's going to be hitting for quite a lot. Though, does not benefit from Keranos' cost reduction clause, notably.
Yep, this looks like a Crush Castles deck.
This looks like a Crush Castles deck. Very, very red, very gimmicky, and I think the gimmick is going to do very powerful things. I think the thing I've picked up over the last few months is that Sunny Day is Crush's favorite card, and I can't entirely blame them.
Yeah, it's like whatever, Goblin Wardrooms? No. Goblin Oriflamme? Except it costs 3.
I think. I gotta double
Instead
check.
of 2, which is what it normally costs.
I gotta double check Goblin Oriflamme. Because I feel like my mind goes to Raid Bombardment.
Oh, that would be a better comparison.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, that's before my time.
Yes. Anyways.
Yes, it's like also like Raid Bombardment, except it costs 3 instead of 2.
I mean, Raid Bombardment is, I believe, also 2 in a red.
Really?
I believe so.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Scryfall is not loading for me.
Rifle also not loading for me, I believe.
I can't believe I'm going to do this. Gatherer!
No, okay, Goblin Oriflamme is, Goblin Oriflamme is
It's
the
1 in a
2
red.
version.
Raid Bombardment is 2 in a red.
Okay, wow, okay. Wow, that card sounds pretty bad.
It's not the best. There is Cavalcade of Calamity, which is it's 2 mana, unlike Raid Bombardment, but where Bombardment is power 2 or less creatures, Cavalcade is power 1 or less, which in this context would be great.
Oh yeah, and there's of course Goblin Oriflamme, which gives your whole board +1/+0, and it would therefore work with all of these.
Yes.
Anyways,
yeah.
Legion G.
Yeah, let's talk about this now. Go ahead.
Boy, Legion G is on red-green ramp, so we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to start with this mono base. You may notice that this mono base has a lot of different names in it. It's got 3 forests and 3 mountains, and 2 Carthy Spine and 3 Univide and 2 Urban Jungle. But it also has one Jubilant Dock Shifting Layer, Biosynth Workshop, and Conspicuous Volcano, Neptune, and with Practice Ranged, Ardent Rise, Reanimating Path, Primal Fissure, Dorm Peak, and Secluded Farmland. And the reason it has all these things is because this is a Gate of Realms deck, and also a Stella's Journal deck, and both of these cards benefit from, and also an Astrothian Gentrifiers deck. And all of these cards benefit from having lots of different named lands. And although you only have 4 of those cards, you can get them with your 4 of Venture Capitalists. So that's kind of the joke here. At the 1-drop slot, of course, we have Husk Forger because we're a ramp deck. And then at 2, Venture Capitalist can be a ramp spell or get your kind of value generating artifacts later in the game. Skitter Tiller? Not Sagittarius. Skitter Tiller is our 2 mana ramp piece with Ardent Ascetic on 3, Yen's Slope Skitter to kind of convert our ramp into kind of damage on 4, and then a Roar topping off the curve at 5. Ulfarl is an excellent planeswalker, especially if you could get a land card into your graveyard. which with 3 New Divide and 1 Ardent Rise and 1 Primal Fissure is certainly possible. Um, Very good thing to ramp out on turn 2 with a Huskforger Acolyte. Braze, Terminal Impact, and Abominable Avalanche are the premier burn spells for this kind of deck. And we also have 2 Crumbling Towers to uh, to benefit from all of these lands we're getting in various ways. And 1 Crucible of the Burning Sun, main deck, which turns off your own Aurora, but you can get it with Venture Capitalists in matchups where it's good, just to really annoy certain decks.
Yeah, main deck graveyard hate, pretty effective,
Yeah,
especially when
well,
you have
when you
pseudo
get to
five
like
copies.
yeah, pseudo five, it only occupies 1 spot, but you get 5 copies, and it has some matchups. Although I think the graveyard decks were what I was really afraid of early on, but now I feel like there are other things that your sideboard really needs to cover.
Yeah,
Um, Speaking of, sideboard's got 3 Hungry Blobs, which I think is a great call into this meta. 2 Fabricated Anomalies as a general aggro piece. 1 more Braze, and 3 Burning Dawn as more burn. 2 At the Walls as a sweeper that benefits from your ramp. For more graveyard hate, we got a Mystery Stones, and as more things to get with Venture Capitalists, we got 2 Crown Guard Bands and a Golden Bloom of the Silenced.
yeah,
I've been nothing but impressed with Golden Bloom of the Silenced in Eternal. Um,
yeah. It is. It is right at home in Eternal.
yeah,
Um,
it it,
I'm
it's I've started. This is not just a sideboard hate piece. This is a naturalize. This is
yeah,
one. This is 2 mana colorless. Destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent.
yeah. And not only is it destroy target non-creature non-land permanent, it's retroactively destroy any that your opponent draws.
Mhm.
Like just trap them in hand. It might as well be a ban in terms of its ability to shut off those things. Um, Silence, the Golden Bloom is just so good. I'm also just really happy to see Venture Capitalist. This is a card that I think of the like Nylon buff patches is the card I was most excited to see pop up in Eternal because of the wider pool of available options. Things like Gate of Realms specifically was one of the things I was really excited to see with Venture Capitalist. Um, I am a big fan of Gate of Realms, as every time I've completely ruined a Curator's Cube deck to build around it has demonstrated.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, Skitter Tiller is an artifact. That's why Skitter Tiller over Sagittor.
oh, yeah, so you can find it off of the Venture Capitalist. And it's
And
also,
yet,
you know, Skitter Tiller
no,
Yens.
no Warplay rings. Where is Warplay rings?
Eh, it's certainly an interesting exclusion for sure. But yeah, I think there's also Skitter Tiller Yen Slope Skitter. Not a ton of basics to rip out with that, and obviously no way to untap one of your lands to pay for half of the cost of Furrow. But Yen's Skitter Tiller was a like never quite got their standard combo, and part of the reason why it never quite got there was because all it did was get your lands into play, and then you have a 3/3 Skitter Tiller and a 3/3 Yen Slope Skitter. So this is a deck that can kind of get away with not caring about being all in on that combo, but can still appreciate, you know, on a turn where it comes up, just pay some mana, get a couple furrow, like 1 mana, get a basic land, 1 mana, get a basic land, over the course of like just swinging in with your annoying aggressive green creatures.
Yep. Okay. Do you mind if I take the next deck as well? Because I believe this is 1-for-1 my deck from the video.
Sure thing, and I'll take the next two.
Oh yeah, wow. It has my basics. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Just like the red green ramp deck. There's a couple different builds of red green ramp running around. I know H Squid's been experimenting. This is like kind of my build, which is more kind of mid rangey. It tops out at the 4s and 5s instead of going all the way to destructive force. Uh, I think this seems to be a meta where people are kind of more playing what they want to play rather than trying to find the absolute best deck.
Yeah.
So this definitely has a lot of game. It can do a lot of things.
For sure.
Epid is on Naya midrange. So this is the Naya midrange from my deck list video. And it's got all the hits. We got 4 Husk Forgers on 1. That's a huge get for any kind of green deck in Eternal. 4 Symbol of the Revolution. Now boy, that's a kind of thing that Naya midrange wish it could have in standard. Uh 3 Crystallions up at 2. and which can ramp you up into your important 4-drops. Also, some various hate cards in 2 Cyber's Clan Arbiter, a Fog Spewer, and a Winterholm Herseer. Herseer is a reason that I'm really on a lot more like dual heavy mana bases than kind of Primal Fissure and Unified in a lot of my decks. Herseer is real mean.
Oh yeah.
Also, a couple of the ramp spells in Elvish Witness. Also quite hateful, up at 3, we have Codename Viridian, which can tax out non-creature, non-equipment spells, of which this deck has only one. Elemental of Surprise pumps up your whole board and gives them haste. Fabricated Anomaly is great with this motley crew of small creatures. You can even do fun things like attack with Symbol of the Revolution, exile 2 cards to put a counter on it, and then dare 6 or 7 or whatever, and you get to keep the counter.
Yeah.
And the reason to be Naya is these 2 bomb 4-drops. Penrath Discatcher, which has haste and can search up any of these hateful and evil cards into your hand, or just dumps them onto the battlefield. And Wilderkin Behemoth, which many of the decks we've looked at so far are incapable of interacting with.
Correct.
And both of those are also 4-power creatures for Ferocious Flame. Although you could also get there with a sufficiently large Symbol of the Revolution, putting counterbalancing with Crystallion, or putting counterbalancing with Fabricated Anomaly.
Yeah.
Mana base is nothing but Shocks and Primal Fissure, because this deck, it really cannot afford to play two. Like, this deck has 3 fast lands and the 3 Primal Fissures, and it cannot afford more than that, because it's got 4-drops it wants to play on turn 4.
Mm-hmm.
Sideboard's got 3 Event Horizons for annoying permanents, 3 Crucibles for graveyards, 1 Advance of Fire and Faith, because why not? And then a whole bunch of creatures that you can get with Penrith Dispatcher and are good in various scenarios. Genotype's Placer for mid-range stallouts, All That Inquire for non-creatures, Vigilante Firebug for graveyards, Aspiring Anarchist for people who don't have a lot of removal, and Melon for people who do.
Yeah. And Purifier of Dawn Bloomgrove.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, Purifier of Dawn Bloomgrove for artifacts and enchantments.
Yeah. I am a little spooked by this, if only because I have been on the wrong end of Epid playing Naya in Eternal before.
Well, guess what? You can now get hit by Wilderkin Behemoths 1 turn earlier thanks to Huskforger.
Yippee! I'm so excited. Now, this like Naya midrange is, I think, going to be a mainstay of Eternal until the curators decide that Naya is not allowed to have fun. And
They can have fun in
bans...
Eternal. You know what? They're having fun in Standard right now.
Yeah. I mostly the sentiment of like I think the day Naya midrange stops being strong in Eternal is the day that the curators decree that anyone who registers a Naya deck in Eternal gets banned from the format.
Well, I imagine that the day that Naya midrange is bad in Eternal is the day that the curators miss some kind of crazy combo deck like they did like Persist last year that then proceeds to tear up the entire meta and be very good against Naya.
Yes, and also I think the reason the Naya deck of last year didn't quite do so well was because it was the Naya deck of 2023. So it wasn't really prepared for Persist, but absolutely it was a deck that could pivot to be prepared for Persist. And definitely as we get more tech pieces and hate bears and things like that, like this deck's only going to get better at combo matchups, especially since it is something that naturally preys upon combo by saying, hey, you better find your pieces or you're dead. So
Eternal, I think, follows the powerful format rule of combo is faster than aggro.
Yeah. But I think this is the most disruptive of our aggressive decks, and I think, as Lee points out, it is paired up against the Storm deck in round 1. So we'll get to see some
yes.
of the hate bear theory applied here.
Crushly shows them no remorse. They cannot be allowed to win another one.
Fog Spewer and Viridian both going to be real frustrating to fight there.
Okay, you get the next 2.
I do get the next 2. I'm just reading the deck title below Silver. So Silver is on a Boros Angel's Thesis. This is big Boros. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This deck's sweet. Big Boros is always a joy to see.
Mhm.
Silver is, I imagine, going to be in pretty safe hands here with Big Boros. So 2 copies of Offset Daemon, 4 copies of Fury Call Hellion. Just the best like top end red white creatures the format's got right now. I'm not quite 100% on Offset Daemon, but it is something that I could see putting in an absolute ton of work over the course of the game, and this is absolutely the kind of deck that wants to kind of grind things out if it can, and then just have an effective threat to kind of close things out. So Offset Daemon going to be able to put in work there alongside the ever reliable Fury Call Hellion, of course. 6 Planeswalkers across 3 copies of Amaret Hope of Night, 1 of the new Amaret Seeker of the Sun, and 2 Illustrious Shang Fa. That's a 4, a 5, and a 6 Planeswalker right there. 4 copies of Event Horizon, 3 copies of Fall of Elantin, so quad white pips there on that. Playset of Terminal Impact to realize the Delicate Ideal for some card selection early, and another decent threat with additional selection later on. Playsets each of Shigane Manor Burns and Drift Off. SMB absolutely makes sense here. This was kind of the Big Boros pickup of the year. And then Drift Off, classic for a higher end deck like this, looking to kind of get to 6 and 7 mana, where the multitude is going to be pretty reliable. And then 3 copies of Chromatic Shard to help you get to those top end spells more often and sooner rather than later. 24 lands here with a playset of each Temple of Origins, Dormant Crag, Wind-Beaten Stones. So mana base that's not afraid to take a bit of pain, which I think is reasonable between Offset Daemon giving you some life gain and Amaret, specifically Amaret Hope of Night. The tokens there are able to help pad your life total pretty well as well. 2 copies of Penthouse Office to get some Evil Plan action rolling. Again, a deck that's not afraid to get up to 6 or 7 mana pretty reliably, and Shigane Mana Burns is going to help that Evil Plan come online even sooner if you end up getting these in play. 2 copies of Titan's Stairs. I've always had the opinion of, I think this is one of the most messed up of the creature lands from Theros because of how low the base activation cost is. Definitely not the best deck for building up that devotion quickly, but you don't need to build up devotion quickly. And once you do have some devotion set up, this is a 1 mana 2/2 attacker. It's Mutavault with flying, and that makes it pretty easy to, at 6 mana, pay 1, swing in for 2, hold up 4 white mana for Fall of Elantin. And speaking of Fall, it is worth noting, this deck has no non-white sources, so Fall is going to be reliable because the rest of its lands are 2 copies of Torrid Path, 5 Plains, and 1 stack Conviviplex. No basic fetches whatsoever because there's not a mountain to find.
Yep, and 2 Penthouse Office.
I brought that up. That's the Evil Plan.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, Evil Plan.
Sideboard is 2 copies of Aspirant's Bane, which seems to be a specific answer to, hard control decks and instant speed strategies. I'm not quite sure it's going to get there, but it is a nasty 7-drop if it gets in unfettered. 2 copies of All According to Plan. Sneaky little white counter magic here, but more importantly, it's a silence effect, so really strong anti-combo tool. 2 copies of Deafening Clarion for aggro matchups. 3 Pest Problems for any artifact or enchantment decks looking to really leverage those to a significant degree. A trio of Crucible of Burning Suns for, I think, pretty obvious reasons at this point. And 3 whole copies of Golden Bloom of the Silenced because, sometimes you just really want to find it. And with stuff like Shigane Manor Burns to kind of pitch excess copies, or, maybe you hit an excess copy off of Realize the Delicate Ideal, it's not the worst case scenario to lose a copy of Golden Bloom if you've got 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that is Big Boros in the hands of Silver Parabellum. Up next is Itai on me being spiky. In parentheses, I brought a subpar archetype that I played once and lost with, also known as Jund Weftheart. This is, as the As it says on the tin, a Jund deck built around the Weft Heart with an enchantment pod plan. 3 copies each of Star-Studded Sagittar, Dawnglade Wildbear, and Fabricated Anomaly. Sagittar here as both a really solid ramp piece as well as something that you can pitch away to Weft Heart, either on its front face to go get a 3-drop, or you can play it as Equinox Mark and then get rid of it to the Weft Heart for a 4-drop. Fabricated Anomaly, similarly, is a hit and a sacrifice option for Weft Heart to pod away, or pod into. And then Wild Bear is the exception to the rule, but there are plenty of enchantments here I can see already with powerful enter triggers, so Wild Bear is going to be able to help start looping those enter triggers over and over, and while you're doing that, a 2-mana 4/3 with Trample is going to be pretty dang effective at getting your opponent dead. Speaking of those enchantments, 27 non-creature enchantments, kicking off with a playset of Finax's Touch, and 3 copies of Dark Covenant for just a ton of 1-mana black spells with some decent value, 4 to rip some cards out of your opponent's hand, 3 to get some cards in yours, and all of them sacrifice for 2 mana to draw 1 and have you lose 1. 4 copies of Golden Age, which might be a little hard to flip, but it is a Lay of the Land that can help you sort of ease your mana into this red-green 4-drop, and then can be flipped into a 2-mana enchantment the turn that you play Weft Heart. 4 copies of Shigane Manor Burns for reasons I think everyone can easily conclude. 3 copies of Omen of Slaughter for a bit of interaction with the board. 1 of each Borrow and the Path of Phoenix at 3 mana as some potential pod hits. Borrow able to help pad your board, get you some card selection in the short term, and it's pretty easy to pop it to the Weft Heart before it starts running and repeatedly hurting you. And Path of Phoenix to get some hand attack when you really desperately need it, and is also just a really solid thing to pop to Weft Heart because it's not going to stick around forever anyways. At 4 mana, we have 1 copy of Panic as another pod target, 2 copies each of Feast of the Crows and Lucian's Trail. Feast able to pick up your creatures as they've died over the course of the game, and just passively shrink the board while it's in play, up to a total of -3/-3 right before it ceases to exist. And Lucian's Trail as just hard removal for any creature or enchantment the opponent controls, and then can just pop your other permanents to become a copy of the card it's exiled, so can kind of steal away one of your opponent's best things and then be that best thing for you if you need it to. And then finally, up at 5 mana, there's 1 each of Vibrant Vengeance as another sweeper at the top end, and a mana doubler that you can find off of Weft Heart. And 1 of the Running of the Bulls as a way to sort of create a snowballing engine of 3/3s with haste, courtesy of Weft Heart, and just gradually start beating your opponent to death with a bunch of 3/3s.
Mm-hmm.
Mana base is 20 lands, a little low for a deck that's kind of aiming up to 4 mana, but between Sagittar and Shigane Manor Burns, it's not impossible for the deck to start rolling on 3. 3 of each of the Shock lands, 2 of each Forest and Swamp, 4 Mountains, and 3 New Divide. So a pretty painful mana base, but nothing's ever coming in tapped if they don't want it to. Sideboard is 3 copies of Duress for low creature decks, control matchups, combo matchups. 2 copies of Terminal Impact for pretty much any matchup where your opponent's going to be playing a turn 1 Huskforger Acolyte, I suspect, as well as just any matchup where you might want a big burn spell to funnel some mana into. 2 copies of Conspiracy of Wealth as another solid 1-drop to sort of pot away with Weft Heart, draws you a card when it enters. You can indulge over the course of the game. As you indulge, you get to start picking off cards in your opponent's graveyard. And Fabricated Anomaly, really good at helping you indulge every turn. So Anomaly is sort of a built-in way in the main to have Conspiracy of Wealth repeatedly trigger. And then you can pot it away into a 2-drop with Weft Heart later on. 2 copies of Dishonor, which I'm a big fan of. Cheap removal spell, picks off anything. 1 mana enchant creature aura that gives the creature -1/-2, and if it would die, exile it instead. So really solid against these Aristocrats decks in particular. If they have any key creatures they want to have die, you can dishonor them and make sure they're never coming back. And then a bunch of 1 of enchantments to find with Weft Heart. A copy of Savor the Torment as another small removal spell off of Weft Heart, and then can gain you some life as creatures with -1/-1 counters on them die. So if Persist is coming back and people can't assemble the combo quite yet, Saver can kind of pad your life total, but by the time they're sacrificing their creatures, the -1/-1 counters are going to be gone. One copy of Sifting Through Soot as some more life total padding, can also be some burn over the top, or even in a pinch, a reanimation effect. One copy of A God Divided to pick off a bunch of artifacts, can also rummage a bit, and then can fling a creature. One copy of Crumbling Tower for some additional card advantage. The third copy of Feast of the Crows, and then finally one Weaving of the World to help give you some acceleration and some life gain at the end of it. I was hoping to see Left Heart at least once. I'm really glad to be seeing Left Heart here. And I'm glad that I called it on, if there's a color you're adding to the red-green combo of Left Heart in Eternal, it's going to be black. Sure enough.
I think I always suspected that black would be the support left heart color just because of stuff like Phoenix's Touch, which was in standard with it, but also like Boro and Dark Covenant. 20 lands seems a bit light. Golden Age, I think, I imagine Itai is kind of counting as the next 4 lands.
Yeah. Though
I
with
love everything about this deck. I love everything about this deck except the mono base. It's slightly short on the Karsten numbers for these 1-drops.
yeah, I think my biggest concern with relying on Golden Age to get those lands is that running the numbers here, 11 of these lands actually casted on one. So we'll see how often that comes up. And of course, variance will be a determining factor there as well. So it's possible that Itai just rolls lucky all the way through. It's possible that Itai has some stumbles. But either way, as I understand correctly, they are definitely getting at least one win, courtesy of fighting the bye.
Yeah, I think so. Possibly. Still waiting for confirmation on this. I saw the deck name was like, wait, there's no spikies in this deck. I was like, oh, no, it's spiky like a spike.
Yeah, I definitely had that thought as well, and then I read the parentheses.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think we're back to 1-1. You're up next.
Okay, H Squid. I heard this VV card was good, but I don't get people to say blue red when it's clearly black green or they on 4 colors. Referring, of course, to Vibrant Vengeance. This is a Jund ramp deck, starting with the classic ramp package of Husk Forger into Ulfarl with the full 4 Primal Fissure, 4 New Divide to make sure you got a land in your graveyard. Your turn 2 Ulfarl can get a land back into play and kill your opponent's creature that would have otherwise threatened Ulfarl. We're also ramping with 4 Shigane Manor Burns. And then we're hoping that ramp gets us up into Aurora and Vibrant Vengeance, at which point we will have enough mana for Terminal Impact and Flashback Chronicle of Extinction as the finisher, and also Giant Tenacious Sapvines. For interaction, in addition to the Terminal Impacts, which can be cast for less, in addition to being finishers, there's 2 Duress for various naughty things, 3 Hang, as the removal spell of choice for a deck with so many expensive permanents. Although Tenacious Snapvines does not corrupt Hang, annoyingly. And 4 Abominable Avalanche, easily triggered with these Auroras and Vibrant Vengeances. And a very good interaction piece, discard Shigane Manor Burns to skip the front half if you want. 2 Chronicle of Extinction. This deck is very, very capable of flashing back Chronicle of Extinction with the help of either Aurora or Vibrant Vengeance. And 1 main deck Golden Bloom of the Silenced. Just to be hateful. Monobase is the 8 fetches, and then just nothing but shocks and basics. Yeah, I like that people are taking the ramp package. I did not expect Eternals to be such a ramp heavy metagame, but it seems to be a lot of what people are enjoying doing. And the Tenacious Snapvine, though, I think is very cool. A lot of like mid-range decks that are, I imagine, going to play a lot of very fun mid-range games against each other today.
Absolutely. And I think Huskforger Acolyte's an easy card to point to as to why people are so keen on playing ramp decks right now, and green in general.
It's certainly a card that a lot of these Eternal cards were not, like Ulfarl was definitely a card that like people were not expecting to come down on turn 2
Mm-hmm.
before.
It's almost like the format had roughly 3-ish or more years of design and balance, specifically around the idea that 3-drops were coming down on turn 3. So Acolyte's really going to stress test a few things in Eternal here, see what really is a bit too much to come down on turn 2. Although we've had ways of getting 3-drops into play on turn 2 before, and they exist outside of Acolyte still.
Yep. Cyborg's got 4 club promoters for artifacts and enchantments. I imagine this is aiming specifically at In Search of Peace. 3 biases, as just kind of general lower curve mid-range stuff. 1 Force of the Tuge as a hard to interact with threat that can come back again and again from a graveyard. 3 Thunderous Avalanche. Boy, we really do not want to lose to In Search of Peace. 2 Duress and 2 Golden Bloom of the Silenced.
Yeah.
Yeah, each squid has been running various red-green ramp decks a lot over the course of this month. I may have beat them slightly too many times in Search of Peace, which is why there are like 11 sideboard cards for it.
Having my own experience with In Search of Peace when it was in Standard, valid. Though I must admit, I am seeing red, seeing that someone is playing Flashback Chronicle of Extinction as a win condition.
Don't worry, they could also terminal impact you.
That is slightly more forgivable, but I would be happy never seeing Chronicle again. If I never see it again, it'll still be too soon.
What if it's the one with the cute Pokemon art?
No. I hate this card too much. The Pokemon art cannot save it.
You got the next one?
I got the next one. PTM's black. It's a Diabolical Minion deck. I will accidentally be throwing shade at PTM in my deck tech for my deck because I recorded it before this stream. I'm on a black-based deck, and I specifically talk about how much I regret forcing my deck to work around Diabolical Minion last year. Though I was not in mono black last year, and I'm not on mono black this year, so some reasons to not feel like Minion was the right play. If you're in mono black, there is very little reason to not be on Minion, I think. I have my doubts at this point. I've started to see the cracks forming in the crust of the earth around this card. But this is a chance for PTM to really make me look the fool, at the very least. So this is obviously mono black with Diabolical Minion at the start of the curve, coupled by needs no introduction 4 copies of Exorcist of Errors. I'm comfortable saying the best creature in Standard right now.
Yeah, it's that or Anomaly, depending on what's happening.
I think Anomaly is still really good after its nerf. I think after the nerf it is just Exorcist. I think the competition is a little less tight now that the Puzzle Box token is legendary. Anomaly is obviously still really damn good, but Exorcist I think just kind of edges it out now. 3 copies of Smirk, Dark Hands Favored, and 3 copies of Threzak the Heinous. So really going to get some value rolling here with the other creatures outside of Minion. And this is a mid-rangey control deck, actually, because despite the 1-drop with a really aggressive burn effect, you're not really primarily angling for the burn to rush down the opponent. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. Minion gradually chips away the opponent's life. Exorcist of Errors chips away at the opponent's hand. Smirk starts to give you card advantage. Threzak can give you card advantage or just be a big beater or pick away something on the opponent's board or do multiple. And of course, the life gain from Minion can help soften the blow of choosing multiple modes. Glauna Decadent Demon as a 3-of can be repeatable removal or can just be a removal spell that turns into a 2-1 engine as you keep indulging. And the life gain from Diabolical Minion and the card draw from Smirk and Threzak can help keep Glauna gaining loyalty turn after turn. 8 instants across 2 copies of Twilight Ambush, 3 copies of Sovereign's Execution, and 3 copies of Damned to Hell. Execution and Ambush helping to pick off smaller creatures and then just any creature with Execution. And nice thing about Execution with Minion is that the Minion trigger will enable Vigor on the with execution on the stack. So execution and minion are pretty much best friends in that context.
Mhm.
And then Damn to Hell is just a big sweeper, clean up some problematic threats and pad your life total in the process. 2 copies of Conspicuous Homicide in the sorcery slot, alongside a playset of Shatter Identity Reform Purpose, which is just the best hand attack spell for any grindy deck like this. Especially decks that don't care about the turn 1 hand attack spell as much. And then 3 copies of Fanax's Touch, 4 copies of Dark Covenant for the enchantment slot. Lands are 2 Heap Ludicon and 20 Swamps. Sideboard, we've got 2 copies of High Desecrator Nixilis to kind of punish some draw-based decks, as well as get just another value-generating Planeswalker rolling over time. Not punishing your opponent for drawing cards. Gradually killing your opponent as you're drawing cards, and is also just another Planeswalker that can do multiple removal effects. Can sacrifice your own
No,
creatures
it
to draw you
punishes
too.
it punishes them for drawing cards. It cares
Oh,
it cares
it
about them drawing
is.
cards.
Right. You make the. Sorry, I'm. My eyes are glazing over. I think I'm still pissed off about Chronicle of Extinction. Yeah, you make the enchantment. The opponent loses 1 life, and you put a loyalty on Nixilis in the opposite order of that. But yeah, it's an enchantment token, so it can be hit by enchantment removal. If Nixilis isn't in play, the enchantment does nothing. But if it all comes together, and importantly, it's also just worth noting, this is also just a 4-mana dark deal that sticks around on board. And sometimes you do just want to wheel your opponent's hand.
Indeed.
3 copies of Duress, 3 copies of Adderdoll Massacre, really good anti-aggro tool. 3 copies of Memory Hostage, really solid anti-combo tool. 2 copies of Crucible of the Burning Sun for obvious reasons, and 2 Golden Bloom similarly. I have my misgivings about Diabolical Minion at this point, but I will not sit here and say that this deck is bad, because I would be a liar.
Yeah. I think at this point, Diabolical Minion is not the main reason to be mono black in Eternal. The main reason is like Srizak and Damn to Hell.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable, and at that point, you're kind of just, you might as well play Minion.
Mm.
I went so far in my deck tech to call this card a trap. I definitely think that like that's a non-controversial statement in the context of like Cube. But in Eternal, I think people will be inclined to push back against that, and they are right to, because I this is a recently formed opinion upon revisiting my experience with it last year. So we'll see whether or not my opinion remains there. I'm definitely flexible, and I'm inclined to be proven wrong and proven that Minion still has some staying power in Eternal, but we'll have to see. I think the deck is going to be carried more so by just the good black spells in this deck that are around Minion.
Absolutely.
Take it away on the next one.
Cat and Trees on Cat and Trees, Real and Card Shark, the classic duo, because I couldn't find Hictalion's Vanguard. Where did you put it? I don't know what Hictalion's Vanguard is.
MSEM card,
Uh,
maybe?
could be a custard card or something.
Oh, maybe.
But this is Naya aggro, but it's a Naya aggro deck that shares no cards with the Naya, like 1 card with the Naya aggro deck we saw earlier. This Naya deck, that 1 card is +4 Dracolite, of course. It also has 4 Dawnglade Cultivator as a 1-drop and 26 lands. To really make sure that Dawnglade Cultivator is getting value. And then the creature curve skips right up to 3 with 4 Real, Silver Rose General. Let's start counting up. That works with Dawnglade Cultivator. Works with Conjoined Irradiant and Renowned Rough Rider as the other 3 drops. And Renowned Conjoined Irradiant puts stuff in your graveyard so you can get it back with Yeji, Resplendent Idol. And while you have all of these 3 drops, you might as well play Rogue's Palace Card Shark. That's our top end. Boy, if there's anything that Revolution designers love, it's designing new versions of Collected Company, because boy, there are so many of them. Rogue's Palace Card Shark, one of the best, and it hits literally every card in the deck. There are no misses except other copies of Rogue's Palace Card Shark. Uh, We also have, oh yeah, and of course, Rogue Star Shark, crazy good with Real. Yeji, also good with all of these 3 mana value permanents. Also, a cheap permanent you can get off of Yeji and Rogue Card Shark is Sanctum of Repression, which can also pick up your various creatures with enter triggers, such as Rough Riders and Cultivators. We also got 2, The Love of a Lifetime, which can get Yeji or Real, just those, and 1 Casus Belli, as actually our only piece of oh no, we have 4 Sanctum and Castability is the last piece of main deck interaction. And we also have 4 copies of Sword and Trial. So if we manage to get one of our 3 drops into the graveyard, we can get it back with Sword and Trial. And we could even defeat that to eventually get a 4/4 white angel token with flying. Mono Base has a lot of fast lands for a deck with playing a 4-drop between Thriving Tower and Beloved Chapel, but makes up for it with some shock lands and dormant lands and exactly 2 basics.
Every land here taps for white, which is surprising to me when your turn 1 plays are 8 green 1-drops.
Yes, this deck is also not. This deck is also fails the Karsten test. It has 12 green sources. Karsten would like you to have 14.
Huh. It is on 26 lands. So it's not going to have trouble making its land drops, I think.
Yeah, well, Dominant Cultivator is very land hungry.
Yeah.
The sideboard has a venture capitalist transformative plan, which can go get Stella's Journal, or more importantly, Golden Bloom of the Silence, Crown Guard Bands, Chambers of Penance, and Blacklists, and Crucible of the Burning Sun. The whole sideboard is venture capitalist and things you can get with venture capitalist.
Yeah.
Which I think makes a ton of sense. Venture capitalist is a good way of getting these hate pieces, but it is a little pricey. Getting a 2 mana hate piece, which is most of the good ones, costs you 4 mana. That's a little expensive. You might be dead to combo by then. So having Acceleration and Acolyte and Cultivator, very useful for that.
Absolutely. I will say the biggest shocker in this deck is I expected to be the only person this month to register Thorn in Trial, and I'm not, and my jaw is definitely dropping a bit because I thought I was onto something. But I see Yeji plus Thorn in Trial, and it's nice to know I'm not crazy. Someone else went there.
You could still be crazy. We haven't even confirmed that.
I mean, I'm crazy, but it's for reasons other than playing Yeji and Thorn in Trial together.
I'm looking forward to the next deck.
My absolute joy in seeing another In Search of Peace deck. Because if there's one card I love more than Chronicle of Extinction, it's Flicker a Thing, and if it wasn't yours, it is now. Pip, why do you do this to me?
And the funny part is, like, Tremor and I were like workshopping this deck a while, and we started on 3 No Time to Waste main deck, and eventually determined it's just not good enough.
Yeah, no, I think
1 main, put the rest aside.
The funny thing is, I think the steal things and flicker them plan is far worse than just having good things to flicker. But much like Chronicle of Extinction, you get tilt equity out of me.
You never underestimate the tilt equity.
Never underestimate the tilt equity. I will play worse, and I will be upset that I'm playing worse.
Much like the version of Chronicle of Extinction with the cute creatures on it, there is now a cute creature version of In Search of Peace, so maybe that'll make you feel better.
No. I can tell you right now, no.
They're very cute.
I will never be able to begin to explain why this card got reverted back to flickering like letting you keep the things you stole. I cannot understand why that was a revert. Pip, why? Anyways, there's an actual deck to talk about here. Esper Flicker is on a bunch of playsets of the expected good Esper cards like Event Horizon, Fanax's Touch. We've got, Borrow is a really good flickerable permanent here. And then just good flicker matters stuff. Kaleidoscape is the big one that you wouldn't see in like a more traditional Esper deck. Great thing to flicker with In Search of Peace. Good for fixing your mana. 4 copies of Event Horizon, of Redeploy. I've already talked about Horizon. Redeploy as a way to flicker any of your permanents and then draw a card out of the exchange. Mostly going to be flickering those enchantments. Can also flicker the one of Planeswalker, which we'll get to in a second, to reuse a loyalty ability. for cards not on a playset, and then for In Search of Peace and borrow, just value. There's value. There's flicker value. What a shocker.
Oh,
3 copies of Omen of Deception, really good to flicker with redeploy, so you can have 2 non-blue mana up and still represent a counterspell thanks to redeploy if you've got an Omen in play. 1 copy of Lucian's Trail as a repeatable removal spell. Targeted removal, really nice compared to Omen of Slaughter. 2 copies of Dreamfall as just solid sweeper. 1 No Time to Waste to steal an artifact for 1 mana and then keep it forever with In Search of Peace. I think that is the only way to flicker it for good in this deck. Flicker it and keep it
they
for
changed
good.
Brief Stop.
Fortunately, thank goodness. But you can also pay 3 mana and take anything. 1 copy of Twilight Ambush, 2 copies of Discern. So glad to see someone playing Discern. I'm glad I'm not absolutely a lunatic for saying I thought this card was staple worthy in Eternal. I stand by that. I think this is staple worthy. Think twice. Costing 1 mana on the front side is really good.
Boy, you really just want 1 mana instant to trigger your In Search of Peace.
Yes.
The critical turn is usually like turn 4 In Search of Peace, and you really want to cast a 1 mana spell that turn.
Yeah.
Get your immediate value.
And then it's another spell later on. And it replaces itself both times. 1 copy of Brief Stop as effectively the 5th copy of Redeploy in terms of just getting some value, and you can use it as a protection spell in the face of board wipes, or targeted removal, or attacks in the case of the Planeswalker, which we will again get to in a second. And then 1 copy of Hang is sort of the 5th removal spell alongside Event Horizon, the 5th more general removal spell, I should say. And then 1 copy of Manira the Wayward, which I've been kind of referencing a couple times here. Can +1 to flicker an enchantment or creature and return it to its owner's control at the beginning of the next upkeep. So if you flicker out your an opposing creature that might not have an enter trigger, then they're just stuck with a with a summoning sick creature on their turn. -2 to exile target creature until non-land permanent you control leaves the battlefield. So you just pick something that you know you're not going to be interested in flickering, and then it's gone until your opponent removes that thing. And then -4, put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. So if your opponent neglects to deal with Manira before you get up to the point of -4ing her, you might be able to keep her around after that -4 because it is so little loyalty and she already starts at 3. And by that point, you could just slip an In Search of Peace or Borrow into play for no mana. One of those Planeswalkers where the ult may actually come up more than you're expecting. 23 lands here on Downtown Theater, Dubious Path, and it looks like that is it for the fast mana. Making sure that these can cast the Phalanx's Touches on turn 1 seems to be the priority here. Can also cast the one of Twilight Ambush turn 1, which is also relevant in a fair few cases. 2 Enigmatic Fen, 1 Ephemeral Mire, 2 Hundred-Handed Pillars, 2 Islands, 2 Lucent Basin, 3 Plains, full playset of Primal Fisher, 3 Stark Expanse, 2 Swamps. So 2 of each shock, 4 Fisher, 7 basics, 1 extra Plains over the others. And then Hundred-Handed Pillars, Ephemeral Mire, all makes sense. Sideboard is 3 copies of Renowned Rough Rider. Gums up the board pretty effectively against aggro, especially if you're constantly flickering it. 2 more Twilight Ambush as another anti-aggro piece primarily. 1 copy of Veto. 1 Tyrell Agenda, which is interesting to see here. Some solid recursive power here. Pick up your one of Planeswalker, one of your many enchantments, and one of your instants or sorceries. If you have a white, blue, and black permanent in play, you get to do all 3. And not completely impossible. You wind up with a blue, black, and a white, blue, and black permanent in play, thanks to In Search of Peace and Phalanx's Touch, kind of covering all of those bases by themselves. And those are 2 pretty good permanents to have in play together. 2 copies of No Time to Waste to go with the one in the main. Seems particularly well poised against Bell Tower. Crucible of the Burning Sun as a 2 of. Golden Bloom of the Silenced as a 2 of. Not a shocker on either of these. 1 each of Clash at the Shaded Maw and Clash at Orith Cross as some additional graveyard hate and an additional board wipe respectively. Although Clash, not a great thing to flicker. At Orith Cross specifically, I should say. Because they're both Clash. But yeah, this is
Yeah, not,
a very respectable Esper Flicker deck. In Search of Peace, only slightly doing the thing I hate it for, mostly doing the thing I actually like it for. So I'll give it a pass.
yes. This deck, the other really mean thing this deck does is often after you've gone off and you're using Insurgent Please to blink everything and you draw a ton of cards and do a ton of things, the way you actually win the game is often borrow tokens, but those take a while. So in the meantime, you usually play a Phoenix's Touch and then blink a Phoenix's Touch and then blink a Phoenix's Touch. And once they have no cards in hand, use Redeploy on their draw step to prevent them
Yeah,
from drawing cards.
yeah. You have 5 ways. You have 5 cards that draw step lock you with Phoenix's Touch in play, or draw step
Boy,
lock your opponent.
this deck draws so many cards. You do legitimately assemble that pretty often.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Deck also fully capable of winning without Insurgent Piece. Just borrow plus redeploy is tons of value on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And the sideboard Rough Riders are a nice little touch against once they've sided out kind of their creature interaction. Rough Rider plus redeploy on its own with no 3 mana enchantments can also just win the game.
I do wonder how this deck beats a single copy of Feast of the Crows. Just
Why, why,
passively
why, would,
kills all jellyfish and all Rough Rider tokens.
why would this deck care about Feast of the Crows?
Eh,
You don't.
it
This
shuts
is a
off your win
control deck.
con.
You don't. This is a control deck. You'll get more jellyfish later. You don't need to kill them quickly.
That's fair. I'm mostly
Once you like,
I'm mostly asking from the basis of like Feast of the Crows still does something in this matchup because you're gonna want to take away their creatures and they'll want
yeah,
them back.
I guess like Feast of the Crows is definitely not a card I'm afraid of as someone who's run this deck a bunch because if they play Feast of the Crows, I will just like continue to draw a bajillion cards with Kaleidoscape and In Search of Peace and Borrow and Phoenix's Touch, and maybe I could kill it with Event Horizon, and if I don't, I could always just make them discard all the cards they drew with my superior value engine.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
yeah. All right.
Cajun is on contractually. Okay, go
Yep.
ahead.
No, take it away. I was about to lead you into it.
Cage Cage is on contractually obligated Super Friends. This is not a Planeswalker deck. This is Jeskai Legends. Are we? Oh, what the? Oh, right, the buffed one. That makes sense, right? Because yeah, okay, no, it makes sense. Okay, we are on 4 Place Shield of Karda, which has a lot of text on it, but it's a 1/1 2/1 that wants you to play a Planeswalker. 4 Symbol of the Revolution, which can become a legend. 3 Worried Vulpine, which is a very strong 1-drop if you can get even 1 attack through with it. 3 Yorgans, 3 Melons, and 3 Ambers. So just very low curve creatures. Like the creature curve tops out at 2, and almost all of them are legendary. In the Planeswalker slot, we have 4 trainee Karina Obla. I'm gonna read this card. I remember this card got buffed recently because of things happening in MSEM. Like there was an MSEM event where everyone got to buff a card from their set, and Cajun buffed this card, which meant incidentally it got buffed in Revolution. You can give permanents and/or players counters of types they already have, and you get to add mana. And then you get to exile. Okay, so it's just I don't counters. Oh, can put additional counters on your Worried Vulpine and your Amber. And your Amaret Hope of Night, which is the other Planeswalker here. And then 8 instants, 2 Ferocious Flame, which is gonna be a little tough. I guess once you flip Worried Vulpine, or pump a Jorgen pretty big, or an Amber, I guess you can get there. 4 Event Horizon, deck of a ton of permanents, makes sense. And 2 Light Vein Arrow rounding out the removal suite. Um, Land base has 2 Revolutionaries Retreat to take advantage of all these legends. And other than that, just like a normal looking Jeskai mana base, including a Pool of Light and 2 Spiraling Canyons as Dov checklands. So this is like Jeskai Legends, except it's not playing like Throne of House Ravalon or the Majority Whip, the 2 like legend payoffs. Not even playing Love of a Lifetime. They're just kind of incidentally legendary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, things that trigger Amber count. Flipped all the Planeswalkers, obviously. Symbol of the Revolution, Melon, and Jorgen. So yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Sideboard's got some promo Serene Mediators for tempoing out non-creature spells. More Light Vein Arrow for 3 toughness creatures. Cursory Glance. First time seeing Cursory Glance today. Glad someone's gonna
Yeah.
get that promo.
I was surprised.
Banish to the Ice. as more creature removal, though it gives them a non-everywhere token. Terminal impacts, because you gotta have terminal impacts. Scorching Condemnation if people have the temerity to gain life, and Mystery Stones as the anti uh, aggro as anti graveyard card choice. Also, card would have expected to see in this deck. No contest coordinator.
Yeah, there's absolutely no contest coordinators here. I will note this is definitely more of a Super Friends deck than you gave it credit for on the surface because it's got 12 Planeswalkers in it, but it's only 3 unique Planeswalkers, so I don't know how much Super Frenzy stuff it's going to be able to do. That said, it's one of historically the most powerful Planeswalkers the format's ever seen, and then 2 Planeswalkers that put loyalty counters on them. So
That's
Amaret
true.
is gonna get to deal some damage in combat.
I got to experience Amaret for the first time in the rotisserie draft, and that card is fun.
It is well regarded for a reason.
Hmm. Yep. I mean, I think this is Cajun playing all of Cajun's favorite cards. I think Cajun wanted to run the newly buffed trainee Karina Oblake. I don't think anyone else was going to. Um, and why shouldn't Cajun? Karina's a cool character. Hopefully, she's good as a card.
Slightly better now.
Yep. I forget what the change was, but slightly better now.
The minus X used to, I believe, be you could only play 1 card exiled with it.
Cool.
So,
Well, good with this very low curve deck.
yeah. I think it also used to be until the end of this turn. So it's like the timing window's expanded a little bit and you can play more cards. So it's definitely a much better minus X. I think it's a much better card as a whole. But I'm not sure if it's quite eternal quality. We'll find out.
I mean, even just 3 mana impulse draw 3 until the end of your next turn. Oh, you can only play 2 with them. Never mind.
Yeah. But in the pinch, like in the meanwhile, this is gonna, fix the top card of your deck, give you some mana, so you can play this and then immediately play a 1 mana spell. Granted, it has to be one of your red 1 drops or one of your Ferocious Flames in this particular deck if you're playing it on curve, but not the worst thing in the world.
Okay.
Zangy is on exactly what you expected, unless it's not what you expected, in which case, what did you expect? Looks like white-blue flash. Yep, white-blue flash.
Boy, this mana base. Boy, what's going on? Boy, this.
This is Zangy trying to make triple blue quad white happen. That's what this is. This is 26 lands with we'll talk about the land base first here because there's triple blue quad white. Playsets each of Temple of Origins, Hundred-Handed Pillars, Riverside View, Lucent Basin, and Primal Fissure. So 12 fast lands, 4 always tapped creature lands, and 4 shocks, and then 3 of each basic.
Zangier, are you absolutely
26.
sure you wanted that Primal Fissure and not like the Dormant Land in your triple blue quad white deck?
We've seen Zangy play, like before Fall of Valentine rotated. We saw Zangy play like multiple island Fall of Valentine decks. So like it's not crazy for Zangy to be doing this.
It's not unexpected. It might still be crazy.
Yes, that's also fair. So this is a play at instant speed, draw go. You take your turn, and then I'll just mess with you on mine. I'll mess with you on yours. Zangy says terminal impact scares me, as it should. You're in colors that can't deal with terminal impact and packing threats that really hate terminal impact. 2 copies of Serene Mediator, 2-mana 2/1 flash flyer that counters a non-creature spell when it enters unless its controller pays 1. Very good tempo tool there. Stalwart Sergeant as a 4 of another triple pip card, triple white here, with flash, and when it enters, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you don't control until it leaves the battlefield. 3 copies of Looming Psyhawk to shut down token generation, and it's just a 2/1 flyer with lifelink. 2 copies of Endless Paper Trail, true back in the heyday of original rotation standard, blue tempo threat. This was like the OG mono blue tempo top end. 4/3 with a flyer for 4 when it attacks you. Investigate. Zangy absolutely wanting to rep their own top end flash tool. This
It's a
deck
good
is
card.
also well, there's plenty of cards not designed by Zangy here, but there's also plenty of cards designed by Zangy here. Between the Endless Paper Trails, the Fall of Atlanteans, the Omen of Deceptions. Um,
But
Speaking of,
no, there's 2 or 3 cards in the sideboard. There they are.
yeah. So, 4 copies of Event Horizon and Cursory Glance at the 2-mana slot alongside Mediator and Omen of Deception and Seal Away. So, lots of good 2-mana plays here outside of just the Mediators. 3 copies of Ifara's Judgment. We got to see how good this could be reliably in rotation. And there are fewer enchantments that are really going to be sitting alongside this, but there are more reasonable creatures. And sure enough, I mean, Stalwart Sergeant gets you there on the Devotion to White by itself, so that could be helpful. Full playset of Ancestral Secrets. Zangy really gunning for that promo, and yeah, pretty right too. Ancestral Secrets, pretty strong reason to be heavy on blue here. And then 2 copies in the main of Fall of Atlantean. The other 2 are in the sideboard. We talked about the mana base already. We talked about all of the main decks. So let's talk about the sideboard here. 3 copies of Winterholm Hairseer. 2 more Fall of Atlantean, as I mentioned. 3 copies of Let Them Eat Cake. Wait, sorcery speed creature? Sorcery speed sorcery? Zangy, who are you? What happened to you? You okay, buddy? Playset of Crucible the Burning Sun and 3 copies of Golden Bloom of the Silenced. Big shockers there. Yeah, I mean, this sure is white blue. I'm taking your turn for me.
It's almost a Zangy classic, except it has Ancestral Secrets. It can act and an Endless Paper Trail, so it can actually generate card advantage.
Yeah. Zangy says aggro scary. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true. We've seen a lot of just like Naya aggro, red green aggro, Jund aggro, just like deck with big creature.
Yeah, I see this deck, and I think this deck is really cool and loses to turn 1 Huskvorter, turn 2 Viridian.
Sure, well, yeah.
I think a lot of decks lose to that, to be fair.
If you're on the play, you have time to Event Horizon it.
Or Cursory Glance, the Viridian.
That's true.
Or Omen, the Viridian.
That's true.
Yeah.
You got answers. You got
answers.
You could even Stalwart Sergeant it. That doesn't get taxed by Viridian.
You just gotta win the die roll or be down a game. Yeah. I mean, Zhang is the master of these kinds of decks. So even if we're kind of ragging on how this might match up against some of the field, I will not be surprised if Zangy just like glides into the top cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or Let Them Eat Cake, Zangy points out. That is a nice turn 1 check to Huskvorger on the draw.
Yep. Boy, the Dov removal was something else.
Oh yeah.
Catalyst has Is It Time to Count to 20 Yet? This is a blue-red deck where the curve stops at 2. This is basically Is It Prowess, because we have 4 copies of Draconic Aspirate, and if we can cast 2 non-creature spells in a turn, it'll become a 4/4 with flying. We also got Twin Caster Sample, which is a 1/1/1/1 with Prowess, and can we copy spells? We can never copy a spell. So it's just a 1/1/1/1 with Prowess.
Yeah.
We got a Lantern-Light Assailant, which has effective prowess, because whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you surveil 1 and gets +1/+0 and flying. And also, if there's 5 or more instant sorceries in your graveyard, your instant sorcery will cost 1 less to cast, which applies to some of them. Applies to one of them. The rest of them already cost 1 mana. Ephemia of the Horse, because it's also a kind of prowess heroic-ish deck. Ephemia has a lot of horses and is not afraid to use them.
Those horses might be human.
Yeah, I must say, even though her name is Ephemia the Horse, she makes white human creature tokens. I don't know what's about with that. Why doesn't she make white horse creature tokens?
I think it's a Theros lore thing, but also it's made up Theros lore, so
Maybe. Maybe she herself like keeps the one horse to herself. That's how she gets these abilities. And like the horse is what gives her haste. And,
oh
like,
my god, is this supposed to be she is like the Trojan general?
Oh, she might be.
She was leading the charge from the horse.
Oh, that might be true. She should. Honestly,
Zangy says that's canon lore stuff.
She can stay back in there.
Zangy does say that's canon lore stuff. I will
And
also say I don't
our
think that's
other
actually the case because I know we also have of the bull. Each of the 12 warriors of
you
Akros is
didn't
based
hear
on an
about
animal.
the Setessan Bull, the sequel? They
Yeah.
got them a second time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyways,
Glintglyph Oracle is our only 2 mana creature, 2 mana 2/2 haste, and whenever we cast a spell that targets it, we can discard a card and draw a card or 2 cards if it's attacking. Um, Almost would have expected to see some Savvy Smiths in here, but Glintglyph Oracle is also pretty good. We see a lot of ways to target our creatures, such as Core of Momentous Charge, Bane of My Existence. It's very good here. Rock on. We're gonna amp it up pretty easily. Or at least we're gonna get cast 2 spells pretty easily in this deck. Getting Rock on to +3/+0 in first strike. Shroud in Stars protects our important creatures by giving them hexproof and +1/+1 counters. Doctrine of Sacrifice is 1 mana to give a creature +2/+0 and trample and rapture. So I guess the reason we're doing this instead of Face of Animosity is because it's better against removal. We can use it to kind of protect our creatures. We get the vanilla 1/1 back. Slayer's Determination can give our Draconic Aspirants and other enormous creatures double strike, and can also serve as a reasonable removal spell. And High Voltage will almost always cost 1 mana and can burn things for 3. And Igneous Visions rounds out the deck. With the curve ending at 2, Igneous Visions will be very reliable. Even with only 18 lands, including nothing but no blue-red duels. Only rainbow lands. New Divide, Primal Fissure, Temple of Origin, and basics.
Temple is a blue-red duel.
Well, it has a gold border on
Eh, details. This deck also
it.
curves out at 3. High voltage does technically cost 3.
It's never going to cost
It's
3 in this deck.
never once.
Yeah, I mean, this deck's going to... Boy, this deck can kill people real fast, sure can it? With Draconic Aspirants, it probably kills people on turn 3 sometimes.
Yeah.
Zangi is saying that each of the 12 warriors of Akros are based on an animal, so that's why Electes, Bacillo, Iara, and Zygos are those. And so Ephemia is like metaphorically of the horse. She does not actually associate with any horses. She doesn't like horses, the animal, but she is like symbolically associated with horses. We're all learning things.
Yeah.
Okay. Cyborg's got Satyr Arsonist, which also has prowess, can mess with non-basic lands. Savvy Smith, I guess, is a little too slow for the main, but if you want to play a slower game, it's there. Forced Ejection is an excellent bounce spell. It's going to draw you a card a lot of the time. The last High Voltage is there, as is 2 of Stargazing, which gives you a way to continually cast spells if you want to. And 3 of Vanguard Assault, a card which can give your Draconic Aspirant, which you made into a 4/4 and gave Double Strike, quadruple strike instead.
It's a card that's absent here that I feel like would have done a lot of work.
Lightspeed Launcher?
Lightspeed Launcher would have been really good, but I was specifically thinking about Shroud and Stars in the main here, and I think the +1/+1 counter is really worth making sure that it's Shroud and Stars as your protection spell of choice, but there's no real stack interaction, and I think you're probably fine to not have stack interaction, but protection spells are important, and there's specifically one like ground that I was expecting this deck to try and cover that it can't, which is of course the graveyard. No Crucible of the Burning Suns here, wouldn't have time for it. But I'm surprised to see, and I'm pulling it up on
Flutter?
Escape from
Are you
Limbo.
thinking Flutter?
Flutter, yeah. I'm surprised to see no flutters.
Boy, I think he keeps saying that he doesn't want me to put My Little Pony art on the promos for Exile Tiltre, but why does he keep naming cards things like Flutter then? And calling the set Twy?
Because Zangi can exist in multitudes.
It's true.
Zangi cannot want something and still enable you to do that something.
Okay, I'll get there after I promote the other 9 Shocklands.
Yeah. Well, we'll be here for at least another year. And you'll be able to start promoting Twy cards at the end of next year. You just got to win every GP. Besides this one. Because, yeah.
I mean, this GP looked like a lot of fun. I'm sad to miss it. Look at all this cool stuff that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I'm relieved that you're not playing because that's one fewer In Search of Peace player.
I probably would have been what I brought.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, I will be in Singapore.
I hope you have a fun time on your trip.
Heads up, you want to cover the next deck?
Yeah, I think I'll take this. I think I'll take this deck. I think I might know what the brewer is up to. So this is Coveted Peacocks, Yeji's Palace. A lot of people owning the palace. For folks who have missed why I do this every single time, let me pop open the GP archive real quick and pull up last month so I can show you how people's deck names lose their honor, lose their like possessive at the end of a GP when the next month rolls over and the new GP opens up. Mine doesn't. So when you check out the deck lists, I scroll down here and you can see Crush has it correct. Viola's got their possessive in there because they did it as well. And then down here, Divine President, my Divine President from last month. So yeah, there's actually a method to my madness.
You should. I mean, I've done that occasionally, but I usually put someone else's name there.
No, I'm too prideful. Also, I am not one for misinformation.
It's my favorite type of information.
I know. I've noticed. So this is Yeji Palace. I took two decks that were both white-black and that both did kind of not very well for me, and I decided, what if they made out? So I played white-black Minion Yeji last year, base mono-black with Yeji as pretty much the only real reason it was in white. It went 1 and 2. I this past July jammed a very low creature count Revolt of the Palace deck that I did have some good things. It was the last time that Data Weaver did the card theft thing before that was deemed unwholesome for good. But that deck didn't really perform too well. I think I went 2 and 2 with that. I didn't quite check that one, but I know for a fact I went 1 and 2 last year in Eternal. And so I just decided, what if I just take the things that felt like they were pretty solid and took acknowledged the areas where both decks struggled and tried to see if they could help meet each other's shortcomings. And then just get some good creatures in here, because there should be good creatures in a deck that's playing Revolt at the Palace. So I remember in my deck tech, on my final thoughts from July, mentioning that my big shortcoming with Revolt of the Palace was just that I think this card really wants you to have a lot of creatures. So I'm on 24 creatures this time around. Playset of Ignited Soul, 3 copies of Melon Defense Attorney, playset of Exorcist of Errors and Void Mist Prodigy. I think Void Mist might be a little suboptimal. I don't care. I love this card. 3 copies of Pressuring Ghoul. I do think I should probably be on a 4th of this in retrospect, but I'm not, and we'll see if I should have been at the end of this. 3 copies of Yeji and 3 copies of Unburnt Maiden, which I have not seen anyone else bring. Definitely might look a little suspect in the face of Rough Rider, but I stand behind it. I think this is a much more annoying attacker. And this deck really wants annoying attackers more than it cares for gumming up the board specifically. Because Yeji really wants you to amp it up, and one of my biggest shortcomings with my deck from last December was that I couldn't really reliably amp it up by attacking. I could only really do so by casting 2 spells, and with one of those spells being a 3-drop, it's going to be a little sluggish. So I found a way to get around that, which is just have better aggressive creatures. And Melon to help my aggressive creatures get in more reliably. Beyond that, I'm taking advantage of the card from Twi that I was quietly most excited to play in Eternal, Thorn in Trial, because it gets back a creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And hey, would you look at that? I've got a playset of Glana. So what if I just looped my removal that deals 2 to you? In theory, I think it's really annoying, and that's the goal. I almost called this deck fun for me, not for thee. But I decided to go with a deck name that actually describes what the hell's happening. And then finally, 3 copies of Half-Heart's Claim, because if I don't have enough recursion, why not a little bit more? Half-Heart's Claim combined with Void Mist Prodigy is just a ton of burst damage over the top by itself. So I have a lot of cases where I can kind of just use the reasonable aggressive pressure that my creatures provide, and then use Half-Heart's Claim and Void Mist Prodigy to apply the necessary damage over the top. Pads my life total, so it gives me some good play into other aggressive strategies. And then, my 3 drops attack with First Strike Yeji on my turn. Unburnt Maiden always has it, so they're going to be able to just swing into the opponent's board pretty safely, pretty reliably. And then, of course, Pressuring Ghoul, flying, uh, Ignited Soul Menace, Melon just can't be blocked by color I have on board, and I'll pledge colors I know my opponent's on because open deck list. 23 lands, kind of some funky one-ofs. I kind of wanted to get some utility here, but mostly just keeping rather simple 3 each New Divide Primal Fissure, 4 Swamp, 3 Plains, because I've got slightly more black spells on the early parts of the curve, so the swamps are a little more important, and also my only double pip spell is Glauna, so a little more important to get that swamp than the Plains. 3 Downtown Theater, 2 Desolate Path, 3 Stark Expanse, and then 1 each of Dormant's Temple and Gates to the Underworld. Sideboard is a quintet of 3 ofs. We've got Looming Psyhawk, Justiciar, Overseer, Event Horizon, Absentia, and Let Them Eat Cake. Yes, Absentia is my graveyard hate. I do not have time for Crucible of the Burning Sun.
I'm also a little surprised by that because Crucible is a card you can get with Revolt of the Palace.
Oh, absolutely. I think if I'm not hitting a creature off of Revolt of the Palace, I need to be hitting Glauna or Recursion.
That's fair, and you really don't want to hit yourself with Crucible.
Yeah, this is a deck that really suffers from playing Crucible in its own deck. It's not a deck where I think seeing my opponent being on Crucible means I'm just gonna, go crumple and fade from existence. But playing it myself just really ruins some of the internal synergies. I'd rather make my opponent board theirs in, and then just board out the stuff that's most impacted by it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful, but I was very hopeful last year, so I am hoping to go the distance. I would not be surprised if it's another 1 and 2, but I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm going all the way. I'm going to
I mean,
Disney
if the
World.
deck has a weakness, it's that it has not a ton of interaction main. It's like just it's like Glauna's and Exorcists. So, but
Yeah,
looking at the field, I'm seeing a lot of people on things that where you don't need to, like, oh, if you didn't interact with them by turn 3, you're gonna die.
yeah. Like
So
combo was the thing I was most worried about, but I think I'm not worried about persist. I don't think persist is particularly nail bitey for me. And no one's gonna play Hoarder combo after the nerf, specifically after the ban to
ritual.
Extraction Ritual. So I don't think anyone's going to try and retool Hoarder combo. If anyone would have, it would have been me. So I wasn't too worried about the like graveyard combo decks. It's really just Bell Hacker, and I think I'm much more interested in just killing the Bell Hacker player rather than trying to
That's a control deck, not a combo deck.
trying to pull apart their combo. So
Yep.
yeah, my win condition against that particular combo matchup is kill them.
Yep. Makes sense to me.
Alrighty.
All Who Wander is on Flashbang. This is a different all instance, all flash, all the time, all singing, all dancing deck. It's got 23 lands and 14 creatures and 23 instances. And that is, and every single creature has flash. I guess we'll start here because we'll start at the bottom because this is a 4 Rabura Goliath, 4 Rabura's Appetite deck. So we have a lot of reasons to want to get instants in our graveyard and permanents with flash onto the battlefield. And we got a who's who of the best of those things. As for one mana plays, we have 3 Crucify, and then plenty of 2 mana plays. Agent of Deception as more counter magic. Ensorcel is an excellent thing you get by being a green-blue control deck. Refract. Oh, I love seeing Refract over any of the other quenches. Even though we're on Rabur Goliath and Appetite, we are on Refract over Overrule Sought. Overrule Sought is the 2 mana one. I respect this completely. I love seeing their hand with Refract.
Well, we have
Is it?
Overrule Thought, but we have another version of Overrule Thought from another set previously in Standard. I agree on the notion that Refract is better than either of those. I think the deck doesn't have enough things to do from graveyard for you to actively want to mill. Yes, it speeds up your Rabora Goliath, but you are a very reactive deck. Why do you need to accelerate the threat? You'll get there eventually.
Yeah. In case our opponent does not give us things to counter, we've got 4 seafloor treasures to draw some cards. That's another reason you'd want to fill your graveyard.
Yeah.
Um, at 3 mana, Faithline Marshal and Frog of the Eternal Gloom are fill out our threat suite. Faithline Marshal, a great thing, kind of flash in on their end step, and then it can ramp us and make some tokens. And Ghost Warden's Claim is our kind of bigger answer, along with Hardcast Crucify, with Rebor's Appetite topping off the curve. Um, Base has Deep Life Cavern, interestingly. That's the Chiku land that enters untapped unless you control if you control a forest. We also have 2 of the Karthus MDFCs with Amethyst Waste, the mill one, and Onglade Haven of Ages, the kind of one that gets lands off the top of your deck. In fact, we have lots of check lands in that we have 2 of each of the Dov check lands, and even 1 of Nascent Light Vein. It's like it's funny to see like how the 2 different curators approach the all flash deck between Zangief's white blue version and All Who Wanders Sultai version.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I think I'm definitely a fan of the way this deck is approached, and obviously, this is a deck we got a peek at because it got pushed into deck lists.
yep,
Without a 5th match under All the Wonders belt, just push it out as a 4-0.
yep.
Is it possible that? Nope. I was just double checking because I mentioned that there was like an issue with loading the promos, and I wanted to make sure that the patch for that didn't push this out. It did not. It looks like All Wonder probably just started a new league run and got the promos they were looking for out of the deck, maybe.
Yep.
And I
Smart to wait until after the GP or right before the GP is pushed or locked to do that so that you do not expose your deck list.
yeah.
Or,
Did just see we missed about 40 minutes or so ago from Cat and Tree talking about all of the white sources in their Naya deck. That the white sources are so that way Husk Forger can cast a turn 2 Rial or Rough Rider.
oh, I
Um,
completely agree. But I think you could get away with, and in fact, you do need a green white dual land turn 1 into a white land turn 2 to cast a 1-way white spell, of which that deck has a ton off of a Husk Forger. So I completely understand why there are a ton of white sources. I just think you could get away with 2 additional green sources in that deck and 2 fewer white sources and still have
I
effectively
think
enough for a white
I
spell.
will specifically contend it's not even necessarily that it needs to go down white sources. It needs to go down red sources because there are 6 red spells in the main. 3
Also fair.
Irradiance and 3 Rogue's Palace card sharks. Neither of those are coming down early. Yeah, the sideboard has the Venture Capitalist sideboard pivot, but that's still not a ton of red pips in your deck overall. So for there to be as many red-white duels as there are green-white duels, I think there could have stood to be more like maybe like some new divide or some primal fissures and just get some forests in there
I,
at the
I,
very
I fully
least.
buy not having any new divide primal fissure because if you get forest turn 1 for Husk Forger, it means you never cast a 1-way white spell on turn 2.
That's fair.
I just think this deck, the Karsten numbers for this deck, I believe, are 14 green. It's effectively 1 red, so 13 red and 21 white, and you could have had slightly fewer white.
Not Gilded Court. I'm trying to remember. Uh,
Oh, you're thinking of Luxurious Estate.
Luxurious Estate. Yeah, this is a deck that probably would have wanted Luxurious Estate.
That's fair. That card is also promo available, and so far no one has run it.
Yeah, people just really don't want to play a shock pain land.
It's very pricey.
Yeah, yeah. There is a tax.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to handle the next one?
I don't think we covered the sideboard yet.
Oh, sorry, sideboard. Yeah, sideboard has 3 Nightmare Feaster. This is a card I just saw when All Wander ruined my life with it a couple matches ago. 3 mana, 2/3 flash. It makes it so that if an opponent would draw a card, they impulse draw it instead, and if they don't play it that turn, you get to keep it. This is really good against specifically In Search of Peace, a deck that draws a lot of cards on end steps. Uh,
Yeah.
because that's when In Search of Peace returns things.
Mm-hmm.
Dolcare and Charm does a bunch of things, but mostly it exiles small creatures. Beauclair's Scorn is a counter deals with non-creature spells out of combo decks. Eternal Night Oh, Eternal Night.
That's a
It's certainly a lot.
classic top end just kill you spell.
Boy, sure, the top end just kill you spell. Um,
See, this is a like big black spell that kills you that I respect. Get this Chronicle of Extinction shit out of here. Eternal Night earns my eternal respect. You commit to this.
mhm.
It is a statement and everyone can hear.
And then three crucibles, of course, and then also, if you're citing crucible, I imagine you have to trim Rabura Goliaths and Rabura's appetites and maybe Seafloor treasures. Um, and then two Hugo's handiwork for dealing with for Crush Castle specifically.
Yeah. We did get an
Uh,
update in the GP chat courtesy of PTM. Um, Courtesy of a chat back in June from PTM saying, does every set we received contain a Krenko's command? Scribble replied, I don't think it's uncommon for a set to have one. Is it? Are you worried about density of token makers? PTM followed, that depends. You mean in custom or canon? Because, like, canon has had 9 ever in standard. I think it's just sort of become a thing custom does without anyone really noticing, and we need to be a bit more careful about it as a thing that it's easy to slap a set mechanic or synergy on. Rev has had 7 of them.
that
Uh,
sounds like an understatement. There's got to be more than seven.
I mean, there. I was struggling to think of ones that Crush wasn't playing, so it's very possible there's only 7.
Oh wait, I'm only looking standard. Okay, I will go look for them.
Yeah. Uh, while you look for them, I'll go over Platy People's Bouncing Beasties. Uh, could it be? Oh no, not the Bouncing Beasties. I thought it was. I thought it was Canopy Calling. Nope, it
Nine. There's
is.
9 of them. I know
There
PT's
are
on, but
9
there's 9 of them.
in red.
I think PT might have missed Courtless Spirit Caller.
Is that in red?
Oh, well, in red. There's only there's only 5 of them. The rest of them are white.
Hold on. One. People can't see this on stream. Sorry, I have LackeyBot open on my second browser, or on my second window. I count 1, 2. Not really. Not really. Not really. Nope. The ones with the dice trigger are not Krenko's commands. 3. I see 4.
Oh wait, that's
Uh,
11. I forgot to.
5. Yeah, I only see 5 in red.
Okay,
Huh.
I was counting. Oh, if we're counting only in red, yeah, there are. Yeah, then yeah, that might be correct. Um,
Neat.
yeah,
Well,
Ragtag was the one that didn't show up in my search, but does count.
yeah. Anyways, Bouncing Beasties. This is a familiar face. I do wonder if Stasis has employed Platy to bring this deck, or if Stasis is just going to be rooting for Platy otherwise. Either way, Stasis is going to be rooting for Platy because this is a Stasis classic for Eternal, which is to say this is a deck Stasis brewed for Eternal last year, and then Stasis couldn't play Eternal last year, and I don't believe Stasis is playing this year either.
Nope.
But Dawnglade, Wild Bear, Scattering Swine, they sure do very similar things. And Swine and Huskforger Acolyte are things we didn't have last time around. But Wild Bear and Speaker of Ash are pretty friendly faces for this format at this point, especially when paired together. And Host of the Never-Ending Revel instead of Card Shark is definitely interesting because Card Shark is traditionally the 4-drop of choice for a Wild Bear Speaker of Ash strategy. But this is certainly one that can pick apart your opponent's board, and you've got plenty of fodder as far as your enchantments go to sacrifice to it. There is 2 copies of Glauna here, 2 Twilight Ambush, 4 Ferocious Flame. Ferocious Flame very easily enabled between Wild Bear and Speaker of Ash, and Host of the Never-Ending Revel, something that Card Shark is not capable of enabling. 4 copies of Phalanx's Touch, 2 Maddening Maw, which is traversed by literally anything other than Huskforger Acolyte. 2 copies of Conspiracy of Wealth, and 3 Omen of Slaughter. So a lot of annoying enchantments to pick up with Scattering Swine and Wild Bear. And then Conspiracy of Wealth is just value if you pick it up. Enables its own indulgence repeatedly. 23 lands here between playsets of Decadent Hall, Reliable Market, and New Divide. Very determined to get the black source on turn 1 with these fast lands, which is a little interesting compared to the 2 secluded farmlands, given the Husk Forger is the 1-drop of choice here. But making sure that black comes down helps you cast any of these 8 black enchantments on turn 1 that you might want to cast, or lets you hold up Twilight Ambush, so that is certainly relevant. The 4 New Divides can be cracked for one of any of the basics that you might want to play. Only 3 basics total, and then 3 Sanguine Palace, 3 Profane Grove. Once again, despite the Husk Forger, black is probably the most important turn 1 color to have available because of those 8 1-drops plus the Twilight Ambushes. Sideboard is 3 Club Promoter, 3 Duress, 2 Memory Hostage, 2 Feast of the Crows, 2 Crucible of the Burning Sun, 2 Golden Bloom of the Silenced, and 1 Hugo's Handiwork.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah. I love Wild Bear. I think Wild Bear is like, even though I've never played it back before my time, it feels like the iconic Revolution card. Embodies the thing that Revolution Desires love most of all, which is playing trinket permanents and then returning them to their hand.
Yeah. I know, I'm a sucker for it.
To see that. To see, like, we have enough redundancy for Dogly Wild Bear that we can build whole decks around it still.
Yeah.
I might skip over Ricky's deck because Ricky did say in chat that, quote, this wasn't the deck I wanted to play. And I think this was the deck they submitted before. Like, this looks like an old deck.
Yeah. Also, it seems like PTM says they were counting Raise the Alarms, to which I will note also that PTM was saying this before we got Exalt of Twiltree. Twiltree definitely boosted the numbers on the number of Kranko's commands.
Twiltree has, like, a bunch of them.
Yeah. At least 3.
Yep. Still think there's a ton of them. I might go right ahead to Lee's deck.
I'm going to double check that Ricky's list has not been updated.
I just refreshed. It doesn't look like it has.
Does not look like it.
Okay.
We'll
it's probably
going to
be a constance deck of some description.
Yeah. Well, we'll pull back to this at the end of the stream just to kind of talk about it in a general sense. But yeah, let's talk about Lee.
Lee is here to Lee's agent is reporting for duty. This is a storm deck.
Sure is.
So I'm not going to fully understand what's going on here.
I've goldfished the old version of this. I know what's going on.
Do you want to take it? Because I might know the following deck better.
Yeah. If I'll take this, you can just have the last 2, and then we can collectively talk about consonants.
Sure. Black one's a repeat. That's okay.
Yeah. So this is Storm. This is specifically working together Storm. So the notion behind working together as a combo tool is pretty twofold. First off, it is a cost reducer, so it makes all of your spells cost 1 less if a player has cast a spell this turn. It does affect both players, but I mean, your deck is built around working together. Your opponent's isn't. It doesn't take a mathematician to figure out who's going to take better advantage of this. And also, if you would draw 1 or more cards, you may instead have each player draw an additional card. Same deal. Your opponent is not building to take advantage of working together, so you are more likely to leverage the extra card you're giving yourself, as opposed to them getting the card on the turn that they're dying. This couples very nicely with Lunar Vigil, where you can deny yourself the draw off of working together, to instead still get your regular draw and just put a night counter on Lunar Vigil to stockpile red mana in addition to that card draw. And also when it enters, you draw a card and can scry 2, can replace that draw with stockpiling a night counter on it to draw 1 less. And you can crack it to get a red mana and a card draw for each night counter it has. So Lunar Vigil and working together become a really clean mana engine plus card engine when paired together. these are played alongside Claim What Remains as a 2 of, Lunar Vigil also a 2 of. Claim What Remains, another way to turn around extra mana and cards, this way by pitching lands to get to impulse draw the top card of your library and add a red. Playset of Dance of the Three Courts as another cost reducer, brand new out of this most recent season. Makes your spells cost 1 less for each permanent you control and each card in your graveyard with the same name as that spell. So any spells that you've cast previously that ended up in your graveyard are going to discount the future spells. That means working together that you have in play makes your other ones cost 2, though that's kind of true of the working together cost reduction. Mostly relevant for, Claim What Remains getting discounted if you have one in your graveyard somehow, if you maybe pitched it to a discard effect. Particularly relevant with Dance of the Three Courts is the playsets of Ley Shard and Chromatic Shard. We have 2 different 2-mana crack, draw a card, add mana rocks to sort of bank mana and get card advantage in the process. Or just, once you get the cost reductions with Dance of the Three Courts, with working together, these can just be free, draw a card, add mana. And then you couple this with more card selection, self-destructing message, draws you 3 cards, discards 3 at the beginning of the next end step. If you kill them the turn that you play it, then you don't have to worry about the drawback. Wretched Bargain draws you 2 cards and loses you 2 life, and then actually goes mana positive if you've cracked a fetch land this turn or otherwise sacrificed a permanent this turn. So, crack a New Divide, or crack a Ley Shard or a Chromatic Shard, and then Wretched Bargain is online. Indulge the Fifth Encore is another bit of mana generation. You can exile it from your hand for 5 mana to sort of bank it for 5 mana the following turn. Or you can just cast it for 4 mana, and with the discounts from working together, Dance of the Three Courts, this can just be 2 mana, get 5. Sermon of the Way, also some mana acceleration, 2 and a red to add 4, and if it's spent on a creature spell, the creature gets haste. And all that mana can be funneled into a Festered Effluvium to mill a ton of cards, add a ton of black mana, make a 1/2/2 black zombie rather, and draw a card for each non-creature non-land card milled this way. And the way that this is all glued together is with Laboratory Maniac and Back in Action. Back in Action does a lot of things in this deck. I know I was not the only one to think of this, but I remember being a voice in favor of Back in Action this time last year before the Storm decks were really coalescing. And I remember neither of the Storm decks of the 2 that were brought last year really ran Back in Action. And I really rallied to say, this card seems really strong in this shell. Sure enough, Lee has put in the work to see Back in Action, and Lee deserves the full credit here for recognizing where Back in Action shines, which is it picks up your Lunar Vigils, it picks up your Ley Shards, your Chromatic Shards, and it, importantly, if your library is empty, wins the game on the stack with a Laboratory Maniac in your graveyard, because you target Laboratory Maniac and draw a card as part of the resolution of getting the Laboratory Maniac back in play, which means the replacement effect from Laboratory Maniac occurs while Back in Action is still resolving. So removal cannot stop the Laboratory Maniac kill.
Something's come up, so I'm gonna have to sign off here. There's only 2 decks left, so.
All righty.
Thanks for talking.
Of course. Take care.
Good night.
All right. Chat, we are it's just you and me for the last few decks here. We've got not a whole lot more to talk about for Lee's deck. I think the Storm deck is really good. Lee is, of course, our combo champion of the format, really. So if anyone's going to be able to pilot the Storm deck fluidly, it's going to be Lee, though they are up against a Viridian deck round 1 here. Land base of only 18 lands, 2 Dormant Bay, 4 Misty Peak, 3 New Divide, 4 Luxurious Estate, finally seeing this here, 2 Gilded Court, 1 Island, 1 Swamp, 1 Mountain. Not a lot of non-blue, non-red sources here in the main, but that's fine because most of the spells here are blue or red. It's really just the white for Back in Action, the black for Wretched Bargain, and Festered Effluvium, and that is mana that you can just get by Ley Shard or Chromatic Shard. Sideboard is 2 Freeze Fire Core for a bit more long-term sustainable value, 2 Ghastly Spirit for similar function, I believe. Can kind of just put cards in your graveyard, get some value that way. 2 copies of Cursory Glance for some stack interaction. 1 Inexorable Onslaught as sort of a backdoor alternate win condition. Just make a bunch of 1/1s for each. Make 2 1/1s for each spell you've cast this turn. A little bit of Empty the Warrens action. Uncounterable Empty the Warrens. 2 copies of Trauma Spike, which I actually really love seeing here, especially since there's stuff like Back in Action here and Dance of the Three Courts to really care about what cards are in your graveyard. Trauma Spike can actually really help you get around the drawback here because your opponent doesn't get to replace the cards you take from their hand. 4 copies of Render Inert to shut down creatures and artifacts. And 2 copies of Mystery Stones as the graveyard hate of choice. Next deck here is Caillou on Bellhacker. It looks to be pretty similar to the Bellhacker deck we covered earlier. So unfortunately for Caillou, I am going to kind of breeze through this. This is very similar to what we saw earlier. Lifehacker, Keening Bell Tower is an infinite to kill your opponent. Oh, Lee. The sideboard is fully explained by them being promos. Okay. Understood, Lee. I went way too hard on that. I did not have stream chat open when I was going through that. Anyways. Yeah, Lifehacker, Bell Tower. If you get that set up and Lifehacker's been leveled up at least once, that is a kill in most cases. Otherwise, it's just a white-black grindy control deck that can just push through a lot of things here. Caillou, traditionally pretty good with this kind of deck, so excited to see how it fares in their hands. And then finally, Styles' Insane looks to be another copy of the deck that Nyx brought here with Pact Beyond Death Marked Passage. So we're going to see 2 different people playing Pact Beyond Death Marked Passage and not able to gain the life in the middle of Marked Passage here. So we'll see how much that matters, but we talked about this deck earlier as well. I mentioned not really being sure how well it will fare, but it is an In Search of Peace deck, and In Search of Peace is pretty effective in the worst case scenario. So we'll see how that fares. And then we'll sign out this stream by just talking a little bit about Consonance. Again, as Chip mentioned earlier, Ricky had dropped initially at the start of the stream from the tournament and was reinstated into the tournament after a conversation with our tournament coordinator. So it's likely that they're playing a different deck, or at least negotiating changing their deck, possibly as a caveat to dropping round 1. We don't know for sure, but we'll see how all of that shakes up in the coming days. We'll, obviously keep an eye on the GP chat, depending. But Consonance is, the Ricky Rister classic. And it's got all of the like hallmarks of the versions we've seen Ricky play in the past. Star-Studded Sagittar, Leyline Channelers, Wild Court Seeker, Fury Call Hellion, and Silversong Ancient, Ulfarl, Asahai, Drift Off in the Running of the Bulls, Forgotten Cultivator. A lot of cards in here that are not quite to the standard that we're used to seeing, because I believe this is an old version of the Consonance lists that Ricky used to play. They are using the deck in the list. Oh, I see. So it is worth talking about this in more detail. All right. In that case, yes, just Sagittar and Leyline Channelers, both effective. Ricky submitted a standard version of the deck that was standard at one time. Okay. Was going to update it, but didn't have time. I see. I mean, yeah, this is the version that I believe they won a GP with. So at the very least, it's a version of the deck that has some pedigree behind it. Wild Court Seeker, not quite where it used to be. The finality counters certainly hurt, but it does get to kind of do the thing that it's trying to do. Fairy Call Hellion, I believe got nerfed after his GP win with this deck, but Hellion is still a pretty good card. Silversong Ancient, pretty solid thing to cheat into play. Ulfarl and Asahai are both really strong planeswalkers. Ulfarl, of course, really great ramp tool, really solid, grindy tool as well. Asahai is just a profoundly messed up planeswalker. Grand Consonance is the name of the game. Get 7 mana, get Grand Consonance on the stack, and then just slip a bunch of high cost things into play and kill them. Drift Off, Running of the Bulls, all the goodies. And then Forgotten Cultivator here is definitely the card that is probably the most out of date because of the nerfs it has suffered, removing its enter trigger and some of its overall strength. But yeah, sideboard is 2 Club Promoter, 2 Scratches Horseman, 3 Cathet, Righteous Princess, another very strong planeswalker, 4 Braze, 2 Bring the House Down, and 2 Crown Guard Ban. Mana base is 4 copies of New Divide, 2 Mountain, 2 Plains, 4 Forest, and 1 Island. Get 4 different basic land types there for Wild Court Seeker. I don't believe there are any swamps in the deck for that, but it's fine. Also 4 Contested Passage, so between Passage and New Divide, there will be a fetch land and graveyard pretty reliably for Wild Court Seeker and Ulfarl. And then 1 Magdalena Bay, 3 Studio Excelsior, 2 Heart of the Glade, 1 Spiraling Canyon, 1 Flourishing Crevasse. And that concludes our deck list stream here. Taking a brief look at the pairings. I don't know if Ricky and Crush are going to end up playing. That is unfortunately not something I can really say with confidence. I do think Ricky's deck is not really built to deal with unending horde of 1/1s, so a decent start from Crush that has a sunny day would be pretty strong against this particular strategy. Tremor on Esper Flicker versus Cat and Tree on the Real Card Shark deck. I think the In Search of Peace deck is going to be pretty hard to beat. We'll see if I am proven wrong there. All Who Wander versus 7 Nyx. I think this Flash deck looks really startling, and I think it's going to be a deck that will be favorable into these In Search of Peace shells, and I still have no idea what Nyx is cooking with Marked Passage Pact Beyond Death, because of the fact that this is a triggered ability, so it's not going to stop Marked Passage from killing you. Cheese versus Platy. I could see this swinging either way. The ramp deck seems really strong, but Platy's on a pretty tried and true strategy as well. PTM versus Styles. Mono Black versus the same list as Nyx. No idea which way that will swing because I don't really know what to make of the Laboratory Maniac In Search of Peace deck. Scribble versus Caillou, the Bell Hacker Mirror is going to be interesting to see. Cajun versus Catalyst. It's Cajun on the red, white, blue Super Friends aggro deck versus Catalyst on the blue, red Spellslinger deck. I think this Prowess deck is going to be pretty rough to face as well. Lee versus Epid, the Viridian deck versus the Storm deck, as history always dictates. And then Zangy here against H Squid on another one of these ramp decks is going to be really strong as well. And then finally, I'm up against Big Boros. I think this is going to be a really tough matchup, but it's going to be definitely a strong way to test the theory on if my recursive tools are going to be able to get the job done. I do have Glauna to pick off all of these troublesome effects here. But I don't think my sideboard is going to be too well positioned. The best thing I've got in my sideboard here is probably going to be Justiciar or Overseer, but maybe I get some value out of Looming Psyhawk in the face of Amaret, Hope of Night making tokens, Illustrious Shangfa making tokens, Offset Daemon tokens, Shigana Minterburns treasures, and maybe I bring in the Psyhawks. We'll see. So yeah. With all of that said and done, I'm going to go sign off for the night. Give myself some time to recuperate and get ready for my first match of the tournament. If y'all are excited, let me know. Excited to see how everyone fares. Excited to see how my deck performs and how everyone else does. Can't wait to see who's going to win this. And can't wait to see what we're getting into the format next month. Set review will be coming soon. As soon as I know what's coming in, I'll start working on it. But until then, hope you all take care, and I'll see you all in round 1. Bye-bye.